Oh yeah, kick it.
This is a warning to all living mortals. That who shall ever open this chest of demons will release 13 of the most terrifying ghosts upon the face of the earth. Okay, cut it. This isn't going to work. Let's try some nostalgia bait.
It's kind of strange. You looking happily range. I can't tell if you're bed. Or have you picked your target yet? Listen, babe. Got your dog bite. Listen, babe.
Okay, that was better. But let's try something a bit more cinematic.
You about to witness hip-hop in its most purest, most rawest form, flow, almost flawless, most hardest, most honest, known artist. Chip off the old block, but old Doc is back. Looks like Batman brought his own Robin. Oh God, Saddam's got his own Laden. Off the hinges, oranges, peach, pears, plums, oranges. Yeah, here I come, I'm inches away from you, there, fear none. Hip-hop is in a state of 911 zone. Let's get down to business. I don't got no time to play around. What is this? Must be a circus in town. Let's shut the shit down on these clowns. Can I get a witness? Hell yeah. Let's get down to business. I don't got no time to play around. What is this? Must be a circus in town. Let's shut the shit down on these clowns. Can I get a witness?
Yeah, that's the shit I like. Let's start the Barroom podcast. Take it away, Jacob.
I give you the next president of Earth.
Nixon's back!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How you guys doing? We're back here. It is Tuesday. What is it? May 20th, 2025. We're back. It's been a couple of weeks. I think it's been about 2, maybe 3 weeks. I don't know exactly how time works anymore, but we're here for another episode 149 of the Barroom Podcast. I got a couple of lovely people joining me here tonight. Let's go ahead and introduce our good buddy Cider. How's he popping, Cider?
I'm good. I'm glad Nixon's back.
Yeah, Nixon is in fact back. And to answer a long-running question for you, Cider, we actually looked up the lyrics to Hey Sandy, which is, I think, the second song that we play during our intro. And the question that he asked during the song is, well, does your dog bite? I. So I know you heard the word dog, but you didn't hear the context of all the other words that are in there now. So does that change the context of the song now?
A little bit, but I still hear, hey, Cindy, I got your dog. Bye, I. Hey, Cindy, I got your dog. Bye, I. You know, like he stole this woman's dog.
Yeah. So it's still about a dog. Myth confirmed, I guess. And also,
It's
our
plausible.
good buddy, plausible. And our good buddy Rob is here. I'm guessing it's the same mic, but you have a different location you're shooting from this time around.
Yeah, sure. That's it.
Let's go with that.
Moves the camera 2 inches. Where are you now?
No, yeah, I have it set up on the other side. It's fine. It's fine. It's adequate. I have no preparation, for when I show up here. So the fact that I've been able to do this is pretty impressive. So, but hey, it's Mission Impossible week, so let's go watch one of the 3 movies that aren't terrible in 2025. So
We hope.
excited for that.
Because I'll be a little bit honest with you, I was a little bit let down from the last Mission Impossible movie that came out. What was it, last year or a year or two ago?
It was
So
like
I
2
hope
years
that.
ago. Yeah.
So I hope this one doesn't suck, because that would suck overall. So let's hope that they actually end this one with a bang. And what are we kidding? There's going to be another one. Tom Cruise wants to die jumping off of like a 500-foot building, and it's just going to happen one of these days. So we just have to accept that it's going to happen. So that's it. We are here live tonight on all 3 platforms. YouTube, we have X here, we have Rumble as well. We have some couple questions real quick. I'm going to skim through these pretty quickly here. But Sakura Mita joining us here saying, have you guys seen Final Destination Bloodlines? I have not seen any movies in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm kind of backlogged on a lot of things. Hopefully I can catch up a little bit. But then again, it doesn't seem like I've missed too much in the last couple of days. The only movie that I kind of want to catch up on is The Accountant 2, but I haven't seen it yet. So I have no idea if that's good or bad. Neozoic is here as well, saying that Barroom Crew, good folks in the chat. Which WrestleMania do you guys like better, 17 or 19? I guess it's the only person who's seen both of these. I would choose 19 better than 17. I know the popular internet opinion is 17, but I actually think 19 was a better show overall. Rob, do you remember either one of these 2 shows?
So if I'm going by the first WrestleMania being in 85, this is 17 is in 2002.
17 was 2001, 19 was 2003.
Okay, so I think I actually have seen both of these, but I don't remember them. So I'll just go with 17 because it was earlier.
Yeah, 17 was main evented by Austin and The Rock in Houston, Texas, that stadium match. Then 19 was the main event, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, where Brock nearly killed himself by landing on his neck.
Yeah, I'll go 17.
And then Cider's the WCW guy, so he probably doesn't have an answer to this question. He just has a bonus question here. In memory of Sabu, what's your favorite Sabu match or moment? I remember Sabu. I will say this: I'm not a big fan of ECW, as you guys might know, but I do remember some of his big moments in ECW. There's a lot of notable moments there. You could talk about his barbed wire match where he legitimately sliced open his arm and dive during a match, and then tried to tape it up with wrestling tape. Just kind of show you how psychotic he was. There was the moment that he broke his neck in ECW by Chris Benoit. That's how he got the name the Crippler. Before, he actually like murdered 2 people. That's what he was known for. He had a pretty solid comeback in 2006 with John Cena, but obviously it was Sabu. He didn't last very long under Vince McMahon. So there's a few moments I could put in there too. I don't know. You guys have anything regarding Sabu?
I mean, he went all out. He was one of those guys in ECW that I think was a very good he was a good technical wrestler, like Rob Van Dam was, and he always put on a show. But he was also insane. Like him and Cactus Jack put on this hardcore, and I mean it's just ECW. So, but just put on a match that was just for both of them was incredibly memorable and violent, and certainly him slicing open his arm is like people still talking about it. So it was definitely a memorable moment.
Sabu, I only remember that character from Lunacy. I think that was one of the game Grumps played. Sabu was a girl.
Yeah, this is not the same Sabu.
No,
Sabu is he's a very psychotic Middle Eastern man who did lots of harm to his body in the 60 years that he was on Earth. So, and then there's some questions about what happened with his death. I'm assuming we'll talk about that later on when we actually get more details to what happened or didn't happen. But apparently he had a quote unquote retirement match just 2 weeks before he died. So, I mean, there's that. That's a thing.
He was 2 weeks from retirement.
Literally. Who else we got here? Doba Fett's here. Kirk over on our Rumble side of things. Who else we got here? Zero Dozer is here. Yep, we'll get to him later on. We will get to him eventually. Doba Fett says he was at X7, which was in Houston. Yeah, that one was in Houston. The 19 was in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we already answered the question. We haven't seen it yet. So it was said a couple things to address here before we move forward. As you guys all know, the reason why I took off the last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't even know how many weeks it's been now, but the reason why I've been off the last few weeks is because I was attending to some real life issues with family and stuff like that. So kind of give you guys an update. The last week that we did the bar room 2 or 3 weeks ago, my mom essentially made the decision that she was not going to continue her cancer treatments, and she had been battling for about 2.5 years up to that point. She had bone marrow cancer, very, very painful form of cancer. For those of you guys who haven't gone through that, I mean, it's not fun, and there was some definitely some low points throughout the whole treatment process. Got to the point where essentially she was at the point where she would needed some form of feeding tube in order to continue to go through with T-cell treatment, and even then there wasn't a guarantee whether that was going to work. But essentially she just got to a point where she wasn't going to move forward anymore. It was upsetting for a lot of our family because we wanted her to at least keep going until there was no other options. But at that point, she had made her decision, so we respected her decision. We called up, obviously, my sister, my cousins, everyone who were very close with her. They all had an opportunity to come to closure with her. They all had an opportunity to talk to her last time. Me and my brothers, more closer to the whole situation, we had an opportunity to talk about the whole situation. We had a very good last chat and and stuff like that. So, and I've always said this before, losing someone is never, easy, but in a situation like this, it is better to have closure with someone who is eventually going to die or going to die somewhat soon, rather than have it being sudden and out of nowhere where you're just not prepared for it at all. And it's even more devastating because you weren't expecting the last conversation to have with that person to be earlier that morning, and then it just happens. You know what I mean? So I definitely, with all the stuff that's happened over the last few weeks, the reason why I'm not as broken up and distraught about it is that, with everything that's gone on, even in the face of all the bad that happened, there was a lot of good that happened too. And I'll talk about this here in a second. But last Friday, so essentially when that happened, she was moved over to hospice care. Essentially at that moment, which was roughly about almost 4 weeks ago now, at that moment, we were told by doctors essentially every day it can be anywhere from hours to days. That's what we're told. At one point, we were supposed to be told 3 to 5 days, and she made it in about another 2.5 weeks. That's fighting a lot of the doctors' best estimates there. But then last Friday morning at about 4 in the morning, I got a phone call that she had passed away overnight. I did go see her the hours before that, so I did get to see her. I was visiting her there every day, but she did officially pass away on Friday. Me and my brothers have already made arrangements with funeral directors and getting things in order. So we planned all that out weeks beforehand too. So we were kind of like laying in the dust. There's still a lot of things that we have to do over the next couple of days, but fortunately, the stress of the whole situation isn't nearly as crippling as it would have been several weeks ago when we weren't expecting this whole thing to happen to begin with. So, that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, I'm gonna hold up pretty well here. I got to have a good conversation with my mom in her last days. We got to share a few powerful moments in the last a few days before she passed as well. So it wasn't all for nothing, and it wasn't all for naught. And I will say this here too. There's two things that I will say to you guys here. I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll donate like a super chat or something like that regarding the whole situation. Don't do that, because here's the thing. For super chats, I have to get a certain amount of money in order for Google to send me it back. And then, of course, they get a whole thing about that. I put a link over to a Give, Send, Go that I started a few weeks ago. We're going to do a cremation niche for my mother. It was going to be at a cemetery. I've already talked to him about this. Thanks to the Give, Send, Go and some very, very, very generous personal donations for people in my private life, we've already reached 63% of our total goal. We expect to reach the full 100% here sometime in the very near future. So thank you very much, everyone who's given to this thing. Shout out to Cassie, who's giving out money on this one. There's a lot of people in our group who have donated as well. If you guys feel free to donate or want to give money, give it into that. I honestly do not care how much you give. If you can only give $2 or whatever the case may be, I'm totally fine. I'm not telling you to pay for the whole thing yourself, but if you feel generous enough to give, that's where I would give it to you. And then one more thing before we get started here tonight. You know, as you guys know, I do this show on during the week, and I also do the Bible Lens during Sunday nights as well. And one of my strongest focus over the course of the last year or so, a little over the last year, has been hammering down the gospel. Because when you're staring down at the reality that, you know, as it all stands, unless the rapture were to happen sometime in the near future, as it all stands, we're all going to die one day, and nobody knows exactly when we're going to die. And there's a lot of emotional stress that comes with death, and then there's also a lot of financial stress. But the emotional stress is that you want to know that the person who passed away soul is going to be at rest when they're all gone, right? Because it's one thing to lose someone and then be like, okay, well, I know I'm going to see this person again because she had faith or I had faith, whatever the case may be. But to lose someone and you're not sure if that person was saved, or even worse, you know for a fact that person wasn't saved, you know the reality of their next destination, it is not something that I would wish on my worst enemy when it all comes down to it, right? So one of the last conversations I had with my mother when she was still fully coherent is that I got to witness to her. I got to witness to my brothers who really took it to heart. And one of the things I'll go ahead and do with you guys real quick, why? Because it's my show and I can do whatever I want. But this is one of the last few verses that I read to my mother. And this one comes from John 5:24. This is the words of Christ himself saying, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me have everlasting life, shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death onto life." And the last verse that I read here for my mother before she passed away was that, "Have I not commanded you, be strong and of good courage, do not be afraid nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." That's Joshua 1:9. And her last word she said to me was, "Amen." So if that can give you guys a little bit of testimony, a little bit of positivity here going into this show, that's really the best that I can give you here with this whole situation. Like I said, it's going to be, it's fine now. Like I said, my brothers and I pulled it pretty strong here, but once all the dust settles, we still have to essentially adjust to the fact that, hey, look, we've been a small family unit this whole time, and now it's just the three of us. And you know, look, we're all adults at the end of the day. We can all take care of each other. That's not what my concern is. It's like, it's going to be something to get used to over the course of the next, you know, weeks and months. And like I said, there's always going to be a void there. But knowing that we can move forward, knowing that, you know, I don't have to worry about, you know, my brother's final destination, takes away a lot of the pain and a lot of the stress and a lot of the suffering that, you know, a lot of people go through during situations like this. And I know a lot of you guys here on this show have dealt with this. Obviously, Cider, you've gone through this exact same situation with your mother. I know Spencer, who's probably listening to this right now, dealt with this with his father. So I know there's a lot of guys out here who know exactly what's going on here. So I just want to say one more time, thank you to everyone who's been supported throughout this whole thing. All I have to say is that I appreciate your help. I appreciate all your prayers and support. We're still here because the work's not done yet. And God may have called my mother, but my job still isn't done. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to continue what we got here. So real quick, a couple of comments here before we move forward. It says, it took two of my sons, ages 4 and 1, that's their first Sabu first show in 2014 and features Sabu. That's an interesting first headliner there for young children. Sabu jumping off of, you know, tables and barbed wire and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, they got thrown into the deep end with that one. Sakira Mita says, prayers for your family, Jacob, Godspeed and all. DK with the amen. Sakira Mita with the amen as well. So real quick, Eddie's also here too. I don't know if Eddie can hear us, but he is here.
Yeah, I can hear you. I hope I can be heard. I got a new microphone. I hope this works.
Yeah, you actually sound good.
Wow. I got bass to my voice.
Okay, now you're like way too loud. It was like you were good for a second, and it was like, ah.
I'll shut up. I'll shut up now.
Well, like I said, there's still work to do. Things still need to be done. So, as you guys know, we haven't done a show here in the last couple of weeks, meaning that a lot of things happen, and I got a lot of passionate opinions about a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a forewarning here. I'm not holding back anything tonight. I'm not holding anyone's hand. I'm not pulling anybody punches. If anyone gets upset with what I'm going to say here tonight, so effing be it. But let's go ahead and talk about This thing again, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. It's only been one freaking game of the WNBA season, and this is already the number one most talked about sports story because not only does it involve the two players on the court, but now journalists are now throwing themselves under the bus, attempting to defend Angel Reese and her behavior over the weekend. So let me go ahead and give you guys a big rewind here in case you guys are not familiar with how we got here. Caitlin Clark is arguably one of the best players in the WNBA. She's certainly the most popular WNBA player by far. It's not even close, and I know some people don't like hearing that. Well, too effing bad. Angel Reese, on the other hand, she is a popular player, but she's nowhere near as skillful as Caitlin Clark, and there has been a jealousy and a hatred building between these two for a while. This is something that's been going on for quite some time now. Back in the national championship game, I think 2 years ago, it was LSU who defeated Iowa. Angel Reese did the whole little taunt to Caitlin Clark that you can't see me. That was kind of started her superstardom, quote unquote. And it's followed them now to the WNBA. Angel Reese, who plays for Chicago, faced Caitlin Clark, who plays for Indiana last Saturday, I believe it was Saturday afternoon. There was a little dust up here. Now, the Fever absolutely destroyed Chicago. It wasn't even close. The final score was like 35 points. However, this little incident here is what caused a lot of people to talk on the internet about how much Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark as a person for a multitude of reasons. Jealousy, envy, racism, throw it all in there. They all apply. This is in the third quarter of a game that Chicago had no chance of winning. It was supposed to be an intentional foul on Angel Reese. Angel Reese flops down to the ground. Then she pops back up looking like she wants to fight Caitlin Clark over a routine play. So here's what happened as it happened.
Oof. As she walks off. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards has something to say as Clark walks away. We know there are always increased eyeballs, energy, and
so Angel Reese here is yelling at Clark, cursing her out, walking towards her like she wants to fight her, all this old nonsense. So here's the show in the replay here. Routine intentional foul. Look how Angel Reese flops and pretends like she's the victim here.
Everyone in the arena had to know this foul was coming. As soon as you saw Angel Reese wide open, you knew that Caitlin Clark was going to come in and take that foul.
LeBron-esque.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then she tries to pop up and curse at her and act like she wants to fight her because how dare she do that to her. Everyone who saw this in real time is like, Angel Reese, you absolutely embarrassed yourself. What are you doing? Like, everyone knows that wasn't a hard foul. Absolutely, what are you doing? She got a lot of heat for that over the weekend because it was such an embarrassing display. There was no way for the media to even defend it. Like, they tried, trust me, they tried, but there was no one with any functioning pair of eyes and ears saw that whole thing and thought that, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark's the bad person in this whole situation, right? So it was an embarrassing look for Angel Reese. That was pretty much the end of it. It was an opening day game. A lot of people watched it, and we thought that we were done with it then. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the WNBA comes out with a statement the day after this, and here's what they said. They said the following statement regarding the WNBA's game in Indianapolis yesterday. The WNBA strongly condemns racism, hate, and discrimination in all forms. They have no place in our society or our league. We are aware of the allegations and we're looking into the matter. Now, it's very interesting that they are aware of the allegations because nobody else was aware of whatever the hell they were talking about here. Everyone who saw the game saw no instance of racism to be displayed here. So people were like, what are you guys talking about? There was no chance that there was no race-related banter or everyone was literally like, where is this coming from, right? Is it the fact that you guys lost by 35 to the white girl that you guys are calling that race? Is that the low bar that meets racism in 2025 now? So essentially what happened, and this has all been alleged because there has not been one shred of evidence to support this narrative up to this point. Allegedly, someone in the Indiana crowd yelled something that could be interpreted as racially offensive to Angel Reese. And they're using that as the justification for the way that she acted during the whole skirmish there with Caitlin Clark. Now, again, the game was on national television. I believe it was on ABC or ESPN, one of those two. It was nationally televised. They have good mics. If somebody yelled something horrifically racist at Angel Reese, somebody would have heard it. Somebody would have picked it up. There's literally 18,000 people in the arena with cell phones. Somebody would have pulled out a phone and said, "Oh, this guy said that." Nothing. Absolutely no evidence to support this whatsoever. But this is essentially what's being used to say that, oh, something racist went on because, hey, we know the white girls fans have a problem with black women. So here's what happened on top of that. As a matter of fact, I want to stop here because this whole thing is his own kind of like umbrella in and of itself. There is a second part to this as well, which involves Ryan Clark and Robert Griffin III. But let's just pause here for a second. For you guys who've been listening to the show for a while, you kind of are aware of the fact that the women in the WNBA absolutely hate and despise Caitlin Clark for the sole reason that she is a good, marketable player, that she's bringing in more fans that this league has ever drawn in its 30 years of existence, and she's white. And that's the sole reason why they despise her. Angel Reese exposed her hate of Caitlin Clark on Saturday, and everyone went after her as a result of this. So now everyone's trying to make up this magical, mythical, racist instant that there's absolutely no evidence of whatsoever in order to defend Angel Reese because she embarrassed herself in front of a nationally televised record audience on ESPN on Saturday night. So I want to get your thoughts on this part of the story first. Then we'll go into how this escalated to an absurd degree with Ryan Clark and Robert Griffin III days afterwards. But Rob, I'll start with you. You're the sports guy here. What is your take on Angel Reese once again showing her hatred for Caitlin Clark for being good and white? I mean, I think that's about it, right?
I mean, it's really funny is what it is, because all of the politics in the WNBA is all, black women, black lesbian women. And the fact that and we're not talking about just a good player. Okay. Caitlin Clark has the opportunity to be Michael Jordan for her sport. I mean, that's what we're talking about here in terms of icon and status and all that stuff. They've never had a player like this. They've had good players before. They've had, Diana Taurasi or Sue Bird or that tall bitch. I don't know. Maya Moore. Anyway, yes. Sorry. I'm bad with, non-notable athletes. But it's fine. So that's what the WNBA has a chance for here. But the rest of the league seems really bitter and jealous by the fact that it's a white girl from Iowa that's, launching these shots from, behind the 3-point line. So, and she's, what did she do when Angel Reese tried to get in her face? She walked away, which is what you would want a role model to do. If you're taking your daughter to see this, if you're trying to get your kid who's interested in basketball to see this, that's what you want to see out of a role model. The foul itself was a standard intentional foul, so that the person can't get to the basket. Anybody who's ever played basketball understands what that situation was. So I found it odd that there would be any controversy about it. The controversy was how Angel Reese responded. Was that like she was accosted or that she was violated in some egregious way? It's like, first of all, you have like an inch and a half on Caitlin Clark, and I don't know how much weight. Like, there's no reason that you should be on the floor. And if you watch the replay, you can see her flail her arm to send herself to the ground. Like Caitlin Clark didn't do that. She fouled her hard. That it was over, and then Angel Reese did like the continuation of that. So the fact that there's any controversy around this is kind of ridiculous. And I think anybody who's honest about the situation is basically saying, Angel Reese is ridiculous. She's not nearly as talented as the media has kind of, blown her up to be. She's terrible from the field. She's terrible from the free throw line. She can rebound, but it's a joke at this point on Twitter where you see like, Angel Reese misses a layup, gets an offensive rebound. Angel Reese misses a layup, gets an offensive rebound. It's like, and so it's like, great, you're a female Dennis Rodman, but they had actual stars on that.
The media is trying so hard to pretend like Angel Reese is like the competitive equal to Caitlin, and she's not like at all.
And I get that they are doing this because they have a lack of star power in their league. Like, I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think people are selling, or excuse me, I don't think people are buying Angel Reese as a product, because if that's who you're trying to create a rivalry with Caitlin Clark, it's like you got to get somebody who's better and who actually has, something without insulting Angel Reese and saying she's not talented, but somebody who is closer to Clark's level of skill and athleticism. Because again, I think women's basketball is a joke, but the WNBA is about to fumble this whole thing because they don't know how to manage the one bona fide talent and star they have for the feelings of the rest of the league, it seems like.
Yeah. And like I said, it's all envy and resentment at the core here. But this is going to go into a much deeper discussion later on when I talk about the whole Ryan Clark thing, because here's what you're really seeing here. There's no accountability for a certain demographic in any situation whatsoever. And I'm talking about primarily when it comes to black women, especially if there happen to be lesbian. Now, I know Angel is not a lesbian here, but when it comes to protecting this group of individuals here, there can be no accountability for their actions, for anything that they do, even with anyone with two clear eyes can see that they're in the wrong here. It's got to be something else. And so the fact that she's getting heat for her own actions somehow is now being thrown as, oh, you guys are being unruly, you're being racist, you're being, you're creating all these narratives about her. It's like she's creating her own narratives for herself. I'll get into that later on here. Cider, what's your take on the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark situation?
Unfortunately, as awful as it sounds, women's sports isn't going to work. They operate on a different competitive level than men. Female competitiveness is 90% final. It's not like Mortal Kombat where they have to kill each other, but that kind of level of competition usually results in a final result, where a definite alpha female has been secured until she expires. And so, whereas men, we operate on a different level of competition. You've seen this where two guys who wrestlers can just actually have a real deal. We got to prove who's stronger here situation. And then immediately after that show, they're in the bar. They're in the backstage laughing it off, having a great time. The competitive edge is there in the competition zone. And for female competitors, it's not. It's anywhere, everywhere, on any level, at all levels. And because it has to be final, it has to be off. It can't just be in the sports arena. So again, that's what they're dealing with. Caitlin Clark is obviously better at managing that than her teammates. And so when it comes teammates and competitors, so when you see this kind of stuff happen, the other people look completely insane. And it is because female competitiveness, it has to have a final end. And so wherever they're going to get her, they're going to get her. It doesn't matter if they get her on the court. Doesn't matter if they get her calling her a racist. Doesn't matter if they get her teaming up on her and beating her up on the court. Remember when they were tossing her around when she first showed up?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. They have to put a final end to Caitlin Clark. Doesn't matter how they get her. They got to get her because it's not about the court. It's not about her being better at basketball than them. She's getting more attention, and that can't happen.
I think it was maybe a couple of months ago we talked about how I think they were doing like a game in either like Brazil or France, somewhere somewhere in either like Europe or South America. I can't remember the exact location, but it was saying how all of the fan base were completely glamored with Caitlin Clark, how they were all supportive of her. They were talking about her contributions to women's basketball, and it's like it's only in the majority black and majority lesbian WNBA where she's getting this intense hatred from, and it's like the elephant in the room is there, but no one really wants to address it. Eddie, what's your take on female sports?
Female sports are a ridiculous idea, but I don't know what we're talking about here. We're not really talking about female sports. We're talking about basketball.
Which is not a female sport,
Absolutely not. You're playing with balls all day, dribbling about. No.
You got me.
So
it's probably the only balls they will play with.
So, I realized, I was watching the clip and put the clip back up. I like this clip. This is actually what I want Caitlin Clark to start doing more often. So I was watching the clip, and so Angel Reese started to try to bully one of Caitlin's teammates, And Caitlyn, that's the reason why Caitlyn decided to go in for the technical foul.
Yeah.
And so what I like is that finally the teammates are starting to, because that was the problem last year, was Caitlin Clark was just getting tossed around like a rag doll everywhere. She wasn't getting any backup. Her teammates were on the other side of the court by the time she was on the floor. So like I'm seeing now that the teammates are actually starting to protect their meal ticket.
Protect their meal ticket. Yeah, maybe you should.
So I like that. That's a good thing. And also I like the fact, if you look at Caitlin Clark when she does this, look at this. So she listens to our podcasts. I know, Caitlin, I know you listen to the Barroom podcast because we're the only ones in the media that said Caitlin needs to go in there and start treating people like Luka Doncic and Joker and all these other guys and start tossing people around like everyone else does to her. And look at this. This is a beautiful technical foul. If she had wrapped her arms around him and body slammed her, I would have approved it. And, I'm just saying that Caitlin Clark needs to start doing this more often and just walking away from the situation as badass as, Joker usually does. I like the fact that we're going to find, if Caitlin starts defending herself and, standing up for herself a lot. Look at this. Look at good girl. If Caitlin starts defending herself like this, I think we're going to get a lot better. We're actually going to get a lot more better matches and a lot better playing, especially out of Angel Reese, because apparently the only way she could play is if she's acting like the Hulk.
Yeah, and another thing about this too that I just absolutely love is like Caitlin Clark did the absolute best thing in this whole situation, which was walk away. Because if she had engaged with Angel in any way, shape, or form, that on ESPN First Take and Stephen A. Smith would have had about 4 or 5 black women on the show that day. They all would have talked about how she was the aggressor and Angel Reese was the victim and all this. So we would have talked about it for 4 or 5 days, and she gave them nothing. She just turned around and walked away and didn't even look at Angel Reese and left her looking like an absolute fool.
That is the look of that's the look of the next segment's fatigue right there.
Oh, we're going to talk about fatigue here in a second because there is a growing resentment of fatigue for certain people in certain communities here. But let's get to the second part of this story here, because the whole thing with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, that's one thing. All of a sudden, Ryan Clark decided that he was going to make this personal and make this fully not about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark anymore, but about how black women feel about black men who date white women and how they don't have their back and they don't know their emotions and all this stuff. And you're like, what the hell did we get here? Here's how we got here. Robert Griffin III. Now, this was about 2 hours after the game, but Robert Griffin III, former basketball player, I think he works for ESPN at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the sports rackets, whatever it is. But it says here that after watching Caitlin Clark's fragrant foul on Angel Reese and the aftermath, there is no way Angel Reese can continue to lie that she does not dislike Caitlin Clark. I know what hatred looks like. Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. Not some basketball rivalry hate each other. Hate. That's what he said. That is all that he said. That was the beginning and end of the entire situation right there. But what does Mr. Ryan Clark decide to do? Ryan Clark decides to take this way over the line, and he goes after Robert Griffin III because you're out here criticizing our black queen, Angel Reese, while you're married to a white woman. And you can't, literally just decided that he was just going to throw and make this super personal for no reason whatsoever. Let me find the exact video here, but no, I want to get the actual video here. I want to get the, oh, there we go.
You snow bunny rancher.
Mm-hmm. So here it is. I found it. I had to get it on another thing. Here we go. Pop that up. So here's what Ryan Clark did. And Ryan Clark made this personal with Robert Griffin after the little bit that we all read here. Here's how he decided to respond to this whole situation.
We moved in to being able to read the expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese pushed one of her teammates. Caitlin Clark had a hard foul, which is part of basketball. I feel like it was assessed correctly. And Angel Reese's reaction is the sort of reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness.
She flopped. She flopped.
Remember when Shaq literally like hit Brad Miller in the head like 4 times in a row? And like, you know what I mean? It's like
remember
how
Bill Lambier.
Right, Bill Lambier just the windmilling.
People still hate Bill Lambier to this day for the way that he used to play basketball.
The problem is that if Angel Reese behaved like Bill Lambier, maybe I give her a little bit of respect, but she doesn't even do that. She pops up and then mounts off like Bill Lambier would have tried to body slam somebody.
Yep.
Kind of like that time that guy threw that beer and then half the team decided to beat the hell out of the fans in the stand.
If the chicks did that, wouldn't you want to go to that every week?
I would demand that's part of WNBA. That's like how they closed the last round. Like they just picked some guy in the crowd to beat the shit out of for the last half of the game.
It would be like that battle at the end of the Futurama episode with the Amazon tribe women, the gigantuses.
I mean, I volunteer as tribute. You know,
I volunteer for Snoo. That's what I'm trying to say.
You gotta go out.
That's the problem, though. Even in the WNBA, like you don't want that snoo. Like you just don't. Like we're not talking about. We're not talking about like 6'4" Nordic volleyball players. Like we're talking about like WNBA players.
There's like 5 attractive women in the whole league. I'm not joking.
Yeah, right. And half of them are white.
I don't know if you know this or not. The tall women are kind of hard to come by, so you might,
it's true.
You might have to take what you can get. You know,
I like tall women. I would throw that out there.
Absolutely.
But there's a limit. Like, and that limit is probably 6 foot.
That limit is using me as a stool.
And so now, though,
people confuse me for the woman. That's the problem.
Hate train or to the angry train.
So now he's talking about Robert Griffin III. This is why this is his offense to the little statement we just read, and this is where he decides to take it on behalf of black women.
Reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness. That's rivalry. That's not hate. And so now, though, when RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train, it now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story. Right. The one thing we
So how dare we sit here and make Angel Reese the villain, the woman who tried to take a cheap shot at Caitlin Clark on camera and was yelling and cursing at her. How dare we make her the villain in this story? But here's what he says.
Know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what black women have to endure in this country, about what young black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's
whatever the fuck
rise
is this woman's white.
Have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. Now, when you look at it, I think A'ja Wilson is the face of the league. A'ja Wilson is the best player in the league. Caitlin Clark is.
I will say this straight up. I do not care. A'ja Wilson is not the face of the league. You guys want her to be the face of she's no longer the face of the league. Caitlin Clark is the face of the league, whether you like it or not. Now, you can sit there and argue that A'ja Wilson is a better player. Yes, right now she's a better player than Caitlin Clark, but she is not the face of the league, and that's why you guys are so upset. So let's be real about it.
The most important player in the WNBA. And a ton of her fandom has come along with some racial bias or some racial pieces to why people love her so much. And
now, again, you guys are the only ones who keep repeating this lie that the only reason why Caitlin Clark is popular is because she's white. You guys see a white girl who's on the rise. Like I said, when you look at her run in Iowa that was led to the WNBA, there was literally no one out there who was doing what Caitlin Clark was doing. Even, I believe, the leading scorer before Caitlin Clark was Kelsey Plum, who was also white, by the way. But no one was doing the things that she was doing in college. She had a big following in Iowa and then transferred over to the WNBA to the point where people actually consider to watching the the WNBA for Caitlin Clark. And how do you guys comprehend this? Oh, they must only like her because she's white. How come you're not watching Asia Wilson? Because they don't care. No one cares about Asia Wilson. I'm sorry, no one cares. The WNBA has not been profitable ever, and it's only been popular in the last 18 months due to one person who's moved there. And you guys can't handle that. You can't accept that. So you have to come to the conclusion that, oh, it must be because of race. Because apparently there's no other white women in the WNBA outside of Caitlin Clark. Apparently she's the first one. I didn't know she was the Jackie Robinson of white women when it comes to female basketball, but apparently she is.
And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't.
What the fuck does that have to do about the foul that happened on Saturday? What are you talking about?
Why aren't you talking about her Menzies or something?
Mm-hmm. You're not talking about black women enough. This is what all
they
the
need
sound
to have
is.
the talk.
You're not kissing the feet of the black female enough. You said that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. That means you're directing hate towards Angel Reese, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You absolute asinine asshole.
It's just a complete asshat. It's like, you guys need to understand what Angel Reese is going through emotionally before you still try to hold her accountable for her actions. This is what happens when you live in a society that has no accountability. No one's ever accountable for their own actions. It's always somebody else's fault.
Imagine ESPN back in 1992 was like, hey, we got to take it easy on Michael Irvin. He's having a hard time going through his cocaine.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Chris Berman isn't having a conversation at home about the struggles that the black man is going through in 1993. It's like, what?
Haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to a
like Chris Berman.
You haven't had opportunities.
Yeah, because Robert Griffin apparently just has no access to black women at all in his life. It's not like he has a mother or sisters, cousins, or anything like that may be black and female. It's like he what does he know about the black female struggle? He's married the white woman. By the way, Ryan Clark's first child is biracial. So for him to sit there and have the audacity to be like, oh, you're married to white women, you don't know what it's like. It's like, really, dude? Of you of all people? Like, just a complete and utter absence of any self-awareness whatsoever.
Well, for what it is, he does wear his struggle on himself because he is wearing a black sweatshirt.
This is the same dude who was crying last year publicly because ESPN took their time in giving him a new deal, and they were probably thinking, do we really want this asshole around? Do we really want to keep this guy? Fine, I guess we'll do a favor for Stephen A. Smith and keep him around a little bit longer. And now they're probably thinking, fuck, we should just let him go when we had the chance.
Conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what black women deal with.
And here's the other thing that just infuriates me. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you're right. You jackass.
Seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese, and the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping.
Amen.
And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with. When I worked at RG3,
no, she doesn't. She doesn't have to deal with somebody making commentary on social media. You don't have to endure that. That's you putting yourself through that because you're addicted to drama and your name being mentioned and your own ego feeling like it's been deflated. But it's like all of this shit is a modern symptom of the time we live in, where it's like if she was a respectable, responsible athlete, she'd probably say, hey, social media, it's fucking noise. Who cares? Let me get better at my game. But Robert Griffin III, all he communicated here was how Angel Reese has acted towards Caitlin Clark on the basketball court time and again. This isn't just one occurrence. This is the college basketball stuff. This is during the regular season last year. There are multiple occurrences here that basically he outlined. And Ryan Clark basically disingenuously frames his argument. It's like, that's not what he was saying. He's saying that somebody has acted in a way that is hateful towards this person on the court and that you could see time and again.
Well, what I can draw, just real quick here, is that this man, Ryan Clark, he is basically saying that Mr. Griffith's wife is somehow controlling him, and he's calling her a racist because he's saying, he's criticizing Angel Reese, and his wife is back there applauding. It's like, yes. So he's basically saying that he's been brainwashed by his wife into being a racist against. Well, it's
well, like I said, so now what Ryan Clark has done is this is no longer about Angel Reese anymore. This is about Robert Griffin III liking white women. So now he goes on even further to double down on his claim, making this whole thing personal. It's not even about what the initial argument was about anymore. This is what he continues to say against them.
Deal with.
You know, you can see the lines in his eyes.
He would make all of these sort of corny jokes about milk and how much he loved it and how important it was. And he always points out on social media the color of his wife's skin, as if the color of her skin is what makes her special, as if the color of her skin is what makes her a good wife. I've met the lady. I've had a conversation with her. Right. I think she's more than that. But it also leads to what Black women deal with a lot from Black men who have chose to date or marry outside of their race. They always feel like they have to go the extra mile to prop up the woman that they're married or the woman that they're with over Black women by denigrating Black women. I feel like we should have.
No, here's the thing, and I can speak to this.
Is this guy is this guy an athlete in any way? Like, this is
he was a former football player with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
oh my god, dude, your CTE is showing. You need to calm down with this like Dr. Phil scheme because you're not very good at this weird manipulation you got going.
This man is going through this 7-minute diatribe all because he saw a tweet from Robert Griffin that triggered him, and now we're here. But this whole thing that, these Black men who date white women, they got to tear down the Black women. No, here's what it is. The reason why Black men date outside their race is because they know from experience how ungovernable Black women are. And they don't want to deal with the headache. Here's the thing. Black women, especially in the Black community, have taken this role that they're the head of the household no matter what. Whether they're married, whether they're single, whether they have 6 or 7 baby daddies and 18 children along the way, that their way is the highway, that they can't be approved at all. They're above reproach. They're above reasoning with. So like I said, this whole conversation started because Angel Reese went after Caitlin Clark in a way that embarrassed herself. Instead of taking any accountability whatsoever and say, hey, look, in the moment I got a little heated, shouldn't have done that, my bad. And then this whole thing would have been done. Instead of doing that, what does she say? It's like, it was a basketball play, move on, we're not talking about this anymore. Taking no accountability for her actions whatsoever. Then you got simps like Ryan Clark who have to go on social media and essentially do 3-4 defense for her, which means that he has to go and attack anyone who openly criticizes her for her actions, protecting her from any accountability for what she's done. And now we're sitting here having a conversation about how Black men who date white women aren't real allies to Black women. And everybody says like, no, you guys are insufferable. You are driving Black men away to women of other races because they're seeing other women of other races be like, wait, she's actually willing to be the wife of the relationship and not the wife and the husband and the head of household. She actually won't give me as much grief and won't talk back to me. Actually give me peace in my life, which is something that you can't find very much in the modern Black women. That's why you're losing Black men. And that's why you're not getting a lot of them to actually defend you in situations like this. And it's like I said, because you can't take any accountability of your role, how we got here, we need to have conversations like this. And it's absolutely infuriating. And I'm sick of it. And look, I heard the whole conversation over the last couple of days about this online thing of Black fatigue. And if you guys don't know what Black fatigue is, it's basically, now I know in the context of what Twitter's been talking about, it's white people essentially growing sick and tired of the excuses of Black people. Because whenever you look at situations on, these videos where people are getting into fights or getting loud or whatever the case may be, they're always somehow blaming white people for the current situation and taking no accountability from themselves whatsoever. And people have finally gotten to the point after several long years of racial division, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, and so on and so forth, be like, hey, look, we're just sick and tired of listening to your excuses at this point. And if you're going to continue to take no accountability for this, then we're not going to listen to you anymore. As a matter of fact, you want racism, you're going to get racism. And you're not going to like it when people get to the fact where they're going to have basically sick and tired of your crap. Because look, there's a lot of people out there, I'm pretty sure, have been poking and prodding this whole race war narrative for a long time in the black community, thinking to themselves that, oh, one day we're going to get our revenge against white people. Trust me, you do not want to see the day where white people have truly had enough. Because I don't know if you guys have seen the statistics and the demographics in the United States of America. The numbers are not on your side, neither in population or gun ownership. So you might want to ease off a little bit, ease off of the brakes just a little bit. But then again, like I said, you guys don't listen to anything. So you'll keep pressing this forward until we do have a full-blown race war looking like the LA riots or the Rots riots or 2020 Summer of Love. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. Because guess what? More and more people are getting sick and tired of this now.
And you know, all of that would be resolved if Cider and Rob just send out reparations checks to you. Like if they just sent you thousands of dollars. Eddie and I are exempt because we're Hispanic, so we're not part of.
They'll come after you too.
No, we can't afford it. We pay tamales.
Well,
ask the Koreans. They're still allies in this.
We'll be rooting. Me and Rick.
Inglés and put your hands up. No habla inglés.
Me and Rick will be rooftop Mexicans if we have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I could just walk across the bridge. I'll be fine. I mean, besides, I'm gonna get deported pretty soon. So I mean,
that's because
if you haven't been deported yet, I mean, Trump's not doing his job.
Right.
Yeah,
Rick
I'm still waiting.
Jump across the border and save us all.
Yeah. Actually, no, I was going to hide out.
Hey, Rick, I don't know if you know this. You're in El Paso. You're close enough to the border. You can just walk over to the other side if you really want to go.
Right. I'm in San Francisco. They want
you don't need a police escort.
Well, I want to do that. But I think after 5 years, we've had at least more than 5 years of, it's all white people's fault. The condition of the black,
we're going back
community. We've gone through a long time. I think if there is such a thing as black fatigue, it probably stems from people just saying, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to raise my family. I'm trying to earn enough to keep my house and my car and my food on the table. I don't see a need to send Oprah a check for reparations. I don't think I need to do that. And I'm just exhausted. Maybe they're just exhausted. I have not heard of this black fatigue until now. Just as I'd not heard of this man Clark until now. So
Rick, you haven't seen those fast food videos of a certain type?
You watched Die Hard with the Vengeance?
Like trashing the place and just like
I have.
Okay,
I have seen
these videos where it's like this is not defensible on any level. Where like I don't care who you are, what neighborhood you're from, who raised you, even if it was fucking wolves, because it's like you just don't act like that. You don't. Now maybe it's because I had both parents up, and that's not even true. My father left when I was raised by a single mother, and I was still raised better than 95% of the people that occupy these communities. And I'm sorry, I started out when I was 18 as a guilty liberal, like, hey, I just want to understand to make it better. And then I realized what it was. And then it was like, oh, it's this widespread cultural problem that's never going to change, apparently, because, things. But I've wanted to understand this problem ever since I was a young adult. And I've reached the conclusion that I don't know if it's fixable. It's a cultural thing. I feel bad for the individuals who want to work hard, who want to make something of themselves. They exist. They are out there, but they are outnumbered by a lot of irresponsible, selfish, entitled people. Okay, I'm done.
Well, I think all these problems are fixable. The question is, how do you go about fixing it? You don't throw money at the problem. That does not fix the problem. We saw this, wasn't that a while ago, where people were trying to scam banks by trying to withdraw more money than they had and then deposit.
Oh my God!
That bizarre plan that even I can't quite figure out. And then they got upset when the bank actually demanded that they pay them back.
Yeah, they thought it was an infinite money glitch. Yeah.
Yes.
GTA Infinite Money Glitch.
It turns out it was a felony.
It's called bank fraud.
I was 18 with my debit card, and then they shut it off. Oh, you have $500 in overdraft fees.
So before we move on,
we'll show this first. Yeah.
I do have this.
I gotta remove this first now. I used to just do it automatically. It's stupid.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
So these videos that Rob's talking about have become so infamous of people throwing down in Waffle House that Tekken, a real deal fighting game, will be adding Waffle House as a fighting stage.
Yes.
That is how infamous these throwdowns at the Waffle House have become.
I love the Waffle House, and I love the fact that you can literally walk in there and guaranteed 1 out of 4% you're going to get a fight completely somewhere. It's
I've been to a Waffle House once,
and
I was not lucky enough to get a fight.
When you do, it is legendary,
watch, man.
Why is she wearing it?
Well, I don't want to be mad at this lady. I have no idea what she's saying. As soon as the video starts, I completely lose contact with reality. You can guess why.
So this video,
that's because her upper chest is wearing a do-rag.
So this video basically amplifies what is now being called black fatigue to a T. This is like 2 minutes, but like I said, it just amplifies why.
Jiminy crickets.
It amplifies why people are just had enough.
What the?
That's not a carton of milk. That's a 40.
Council, in order to get respect as a black woman, I'm not afraid of.
Well, a bikini would help.
When I make a mistake, I will be clear. I don't hate you as a white woman. I don't hate you as a white man. I am sick and tired of this body.
You know, she's color-coded as a certain somebody that we can't mention anymore.
Divided. So we lose less weight and we lose
it slower. It's over now.
Even when we're following the diet than our white women counterparts.
Don't you hate it when they clip them? That's how they clip them like that so they know where they are on the farm.
Responses in the body change our metabolism. It's literally that the racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
Black men are.
White people are making black women fat. Did I just hear that right?
Yes. So just in case you didn't catch what she was saying there, she's saying that the stress of racism makes it so that they can't lose weight like white women.
Oh,
that's literally what she said. And this is the emotional arguments that we need to pander to, according to Ryan Clark.
So wait a minute. So I
can
say,
I was like, is that Stacey Abrams or is that just another fat black?
Just another fat black woman.
So wait. So I can say that oppression is the reason why I'm fat. Like
yes.
You can blame me.
Back to the 90s when they were like, hypertension is due to racism. That's why black people are,
awesome.
have a higher chance.
It's not the fact that you just put Lowry's in everything. It's not anything to it.
You the same.
Black men are appreciated in Germany. Black men are put in a cultural sense, in a societal sense, you are seen as interesting, whereas black women are seen as less.
Well, they don't walk around dressed like that.
A zoo.
That might help.
Like a zoo, you're seen as interesting.
She has her arm still around her.
Mama, stop! Mama! I just want the chicken, Mama.
This is boorish behavior. Oh, good.
That kid stands no chance.
Yeah,
that kid stands no chance.
I'm sorry, I'm very old school, but I'm not fond of people appearing like that in public. Fix your hair, get a nicer blouse, cover up the tattoos. I'm not big on the tattoos in general, but
hey, Rick, why don't you go over there and tell her? I'm pretty sure she'll endure that.
I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry for Miss Weight Management Albert there.
Hey y'all, this how the Chipotle workers is. She threw away my food
because
I told her her employees was moving too slow. She threw away my food, spent my whole break in this line. Got right here, she threw away my food because she's a fucked up ass manager. You're a fucked up ass manager. That's why the establishment is the way it is now.
We don't articulate as black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone?
Not a soul.
I mean, that's all we
Nobody.
hear. All we hear is about your pain and your grievances.
Who the fuck is Oprah? Never heard of her.
And think about it. The people who are complaining the most are people like Michelle Obama, who's very privileged. The Duchess of Sussex, who is also very privileged. Oprah, I guess, is also very privileged. I don't understand this type of thinking where you seem to be perpetually aggrieved. Maybe that's where the black...
It's called no accountability, Rick. These are people who for generations have never once stepped back and looked like, you know what, maybe that was on me. Maybe I was the problem in this scenario. Maybe I'm the one who made the mistake here. You know what? Hey, my bad. That one's on me. My bad.
I know this topic is probably going to come up later, but maybe in Germany they admire at least one particular black man for other reasons other than his skin color. But I'll say that it's interesting. For me, it just seems that it's regressed. Once slavery actually ended, there was much harder time for black people, and they still managed to create Tuskegee University. They still managed to bring about people like George Washington Carver. Where are those people now that are creating these schools and these industries and are considered great scientists?
They're being called Uncle Tom.
George Washington Carver. That means he carried a knife.
They're married to white women and they're being attacked by the black community, being called
white.
coons.
That's what they get hit with when they have new ideas.
There was a time when there was that idea, and people were saying that if you were educated, if you were black and you were educated and you liked learning, that you were, quote, acting white. And I thought that was such a disservice because
it's just that if you don't lick the boot of the black woman, then you're a coon. And then that's pretty much our discourse here in 2025. And then you wonder why, like I said, people are just had enough. So you have to move on here because
Kanye
I feel really sorry for the Uncle Bens of the world.
Yeah,
Rick, you understand why on Twitter I like to make fun of black women? Because it attracts a large amount of people to engage with you, and then B, it's very funny to see.
Especially when you use Google Translate to figure out what you're saying.
Rob, you wouldn't dare make fun of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. You know, she's a legend.
No one cares. Anyway, let's talk about the Diddy story here. So the Diddy Cassie trial has been the big story for the last week or so. I'm not going to go through everything that was discussed here, but here's my thoughts on this whole situation. Once again, I'm going to be very, very blunt. There's no good guys here. There are no good guys. There are no victims in this story here. I do not feel bad for Cassie. I do not feel bad for any of the people involved here. Here's what the reality of the situation here is that Cassie, I believe, started her music career in either 2005, 2006. Diddy at the time period was one of the biggest, music, managers, moguls, whatever case you want to be in the game at that time period. She started a relationship with a very, very powerful man and probably got a lot of perks attached to being with this powerful man. And then as time goes on, Diddy turns out to be a complete gross sexual degenerate, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone considering the fact that Hollywood itself has a full of gross, immoral sexual degenerates. And I hope you guys understand this now, that this Diddy is not the outlier here. And when it comes to Diddy, it's more blatant than the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. I know a lot of people are very angry about the Jeffrey Epstein thing because, we still don't have the list yet. We don't know the names. When it comes to Diddy, you know exactly who was there. Like this idea that the FBI probably doesn't have like 10 tapes of LeBron James at a Diddy freak-off party right now in their possession is laughable. We know he was there. We know Jay-Z was there. We know Beyonce was there. We know Jennifer. We know who was there. Like there's no discussion about this whatsoever. The problem is that everyone's now trying to print in like, oh, I was never friends with Diddy. But here's what was going on behind closed doors. Diddy's quote-unquote freak-offs were essentially a celebration of gross other degeneracy that you could possibly think of. I do want to keep this in mind here too. I'm pretty sure everyone here has heard of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. If you guys watch our Sunday show, we've talked about it a couple of times here. when we talk about in the context of biblical text, everyone's think, oh, that was just a fairy tale. That wasn't real. That didn't actually happen. You're literally seeing these celebrities doing things that probably the exact same things that were happening in Sodom and Gomorrah before a giant rain of fire laying down on top of them beforehand. Here's basically the whole rundown of this situation. Combs is a violent jerk, and he's also a swinger who goes both ways. So he'll go with men or women. He doesn't care. That's what they're going
He's a
here
true
for.
Puff Daddy.
Yeah, right. Now people only figured out what that nickname meant. But yeah, he says, well, yeah, Diddy has a bad temper. He's prone to violent outbursts. We've known this for 30 years. This is not breaking news to anyone.
Like, you have some breaking news.
What happened?
Ooh, do we have it?
I have it right here. It's good. It's good because it just came out about a couple hours ago. I think this is when it came out. So here we go.
Oh,
you got to do the off-on thing.
Oh boy!
Breaking news: Diddy party prosecutors have revealed images of President Obama-shaped ecstasy pills that were in Diddy's possession. This is real. This is 100%
real.
Stoned Obama creamsicle chewable presidential head ecstasy vitamins.
Nice.
He had Obama Flintstone vitamins that were actually ecstasy.
They were actually ecstasy. It was stoned Obama.
There was another breaking news. This is actually pretty good though. They brought a testimony that Prince pre-recorded before he died about confessing about all of the Diddy party things.
Son of a bitch! They let it that long.
Right. So he's and apparently in the translation it said, or in the transcription it said, if anything happens to me, make sure this goes to the right people because this needs to be exposed and everything else. So this was all Prince's idea apparently from the very beginning.
Wow. So it's like his Nightfall protocol.
Absolutely. Talk about Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, like I said, we all know that Obama had a real close relationship with the diddler. So are we supposed to?
He got named in the court document.
It's the same thing with Epstein. It's like, why do you think Epstein had a portrait of Bill Clinton in his island? Like, why do you think that was there?
He was a big fan of NAFTA.
He had a portrait of George Bush too, just for the record.
I'm pretty sure he was there too.
Yeah, George Bush was involved in Skull and Bones, and the thing is, like, all these people are involved in shady or dealings, organizations, relationships. So why I believe ultimately in the whole Illuminati conspiracy, whether it's called that or whatever, the whole idea that people have like interests is like it's the easiest thing to connect in the world, where it's like, oh yeah, like I believe uber wealthy people get up to some nefarious shit. So all of this coming out is like in the idea that nobody is good. Like the women involved like knew what they were signing up for, and yeah, were they taken advantage of and exploited? Sure, but they also knew they were being exploited. And so it's like, and of course P. Diddy and R. Kelly, and I mean, Jesus Christ, these people at the very top of the music industry basically just using people, which I mean, and I just, the irony of people making all of this like content about slavery and then using people, like I'm just like pointing that out. It's like, what, maybe there's something here to like using victimization, hiding behind victimization and fucking with people in broad daylight.
I'm just curious. Are they going to sell? Are they going to sell those little candies at the Obama Presidential Library when it opens?
Oh,
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
A free bag of Obama ecstasy when you show up. Yeah.
And then we all went down to the hotel to have a giant bail freak off. But
the Clinton Library, the Clinton Library just gives you chocolate flavored condoms. It's not as great.
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, it talks about, how these affairs were highly popular and highly well organized, how these wild king nights or hotel nights involved male sex workers, heavy drug use, copious amounts of lubrication that was involved in here too. So it was like, yeah, all your favorite rappers that you guys probably love, all these guys you think are probably hardcore thug gangsters, they're all homos. They all have sex with each other behind closed doors, all of them. Everyone's been either having sex behind closed doors or they got some kind of compromising videotape that's now probably in the possession of the FBI as we speak. So there you go.
That's what Eazy-E said.
Mm-hmm.
This has not changed since the time of Little Richard, who also had these kind of orgies.
Here's my thing is like, how do you keep this secret? You know what I mean? Like, how do like? Is it just you're threatening people constantly? Is it? I mean, how do you keep a lid on something like this? If
because here's the problem.
Yeah.
And this is a similar situation that people, let's be honest, it's not like Diddy's the first person to do this. There has been stories about what we think happened in the Playboy Mansion for so many years. I mean, remember back in like 20 years ago, the Playboy Mansion was like the place to go because you would have wild sex parties at the Playboy Mansion back in those days. And like the reason why these things always stay quiet is because everyone who goes to these parties are compromised. They got videotapes of them doing something that if that video were to get leaked or were to get released and you find your favorite musician, sports stars doing something extremely suspect, then it would completely and utterly destroy their reputation. It will destroy their reputation. They will lose sponsorship deals. They will lose everything if these things got exposed. So because everyone there is compromised, everyone knows about it because it's an open secret, but no one can say anything because they know that they even attempt to try to speak out about this, then one of those videos just so happens to leak on Twitter. The next thing you know, they're done. So they coerce everyone into silence because they're all compromised.
Yep, because that's the way it goes. Yeah. Like, imagine you didn't do anything. Okay, imagine you were just there. You got drunk off your ass. You didn't even have one of those fancy stoned Obama ecstasies. You just got drunk off your ass. You was hanging out. You were still in the home when a 14-year-old girl was violated. You may have been just in the next room, but that's your career gone. There's no, like, you're not going to appear in another Hollywood movie again, because once that gets out that you were in the same house, they're going to assume you're up to the same thing. They just didn't catch you. And it's over. And that's how they played this. It was the whole point of this. Diddy was backup for Epstein. Epstein was backup for Playboy Mansion. Whoever Playboy Mansion was the primary for was probably a Turkish bath somewhere in Spain.
Yep.
That's why Roman Polanski killed his.
Why is it Turkish?
Why do you think that? But seriously though, like, in like these. And there's been stories for years that everyone has known, but in 5-star hotels where, let's be honest, who are the type of clientele who would go to a 5-star hotel? The elite, the rich of the rich, and people will have to routinely search through the entire hotel room to make sure there weren't any secret video cameras, because when you rent a suite or somewhere of luxury in these locations because you want to do something that may be questionable, if there happens to get caught on videotape, guess what? You're compromised. This happened to senators, politicians, celebrities, sports stars. I've heard many people talk about this. This is how the Hollywood industry works. This is how things really work. Surprise, it's not about being, the most talented actor or the most talented actress and working your way up. There was this guy there's a popular clip that's on Twitter somewhere. I know you guys heard it. It's a rapper talking about how these industry deals actually go down. And essentially, they take these young up-and-coming rappers and they invite them to like this big-time Hollywood party where they promise them, a whole bunch of women are going to be there. And they entice them to, hey, we'll come out here and party with so-and-so and we're going to do drugs and we're going to get drunk. We're going to get wild and have a good time. And these people, because they're stupid, go up there and they get intoxicated and they get drugged. They wake up the next morning, they don't know what the hell happened, and then they go back to the negotiation table, and it's like, here, we're going to give you a lowball offer. Oh, you don't want to accept that? Hey, play the tape of what you were doing at that party a couple nights ago. You come and find out that you were getting ran through by a bunch of dudes, and it's clear as day that it was you. So it's like, hey, you can either take this lowball offer, or this video can leak online, and you'll never work in this town ever again. So what do you want to do? And people have said this for years. This is exactly what happens at situations like these Diddy parties. There's a reason why the FBI raided his homes in LA and Miami to begin with. They obtained all the tapes that he had of these parties. Who knows who's officially compromised, but let's be honest here. All the big name music stars that you guys know, everyone who you've seen taking multiple pictures with Diddy, they were probably on one of those tapes somewhere at some course of the last 20, 30 years that they've been partying with Diddy, living it up with Diddy. He's got them somewhere on tape. They're somewhere compromised. And this is exactly what breeds this industry that we're in today. This is not an industry of access in the sense of, people just indulging of whatever they want. Like, these are compromised people who are basically controlled to do whatever the higher ups want them to do. It is quite literally a industry of lies, an industry of coercion. This is what it is. This is the truth. No one wants to accept that because no one wants to think of, well, who's actually running things if this is what really going on there. No one wants to get into the really gritty details of this whole situation because that's a little too, eyes wide shut. But at the end of the day, it happens, and at some point you're gonna have to accept that this is what it is.
You know who you never hear about this stuff with? Keanu Reeves. I just want to remind everybody that good guy Keanu is good guy Keanu for a reason.
Not only that, Keanu's a fantastic man. I know he listens to his podcast. I love you, Keanu. I just also even taking it down from Puffy and Jay-Z and apparently what we're going to be dealing with later, taking it all down from there. Like this phenomena of being able to control people through manipulation and just overindulgence of senses, like that's what pimps do. Pimps just overindulge your senses to the point where you're now owed them your life. Essentially, they do that to women and they do that to some men, and it's not love bombing, but it's like you're given the world, and now you gotta owe. And Diddy and all of these guys were people that people owed, and all these people had nowhere to go. They thought, at least, that they had to pay back. And when you're from the street where you claim to come from, when you're from the hood where you claim to come from, the pimp hoe dynamic, and that's essentially what this was. It's a big giant pimp scheme.
Yeah. And I think I'll make a last note here before I'll let you guys give any thoughts you want on this whole situation. But, with Diddy, somebody had asked just earlier, like in the chat, that, this could take down the whole rap industry. I feel like that as long as they have possession of the quote unquote evidence, they're fine with Diddy being the only one who takes the fall here. We all know who Diddy's friends are. We all know who Diddy's longtime friends are. If there's been a long time associate with him, that there's just no other way, right? So like I said, this is to me more of an easier slam dunk than the Jeffrey Epstein, because Jeffrey Epstein is like, we don't know exactly what world leader he was at those parties with, because clearly they have to have him killed to figure out who it really was. This is kind of a lower level version of that, because at the end of the day, look, if we find out that Jay-Z is some gay degenerate who's been multiple at these parties, it's Jay-Z at the end of the day. He's a rapper. It's like he can afford to take the fall. We can afford to lose Jay-Z or, God forbid, Jennifer Lopez or anybody else like that. The reason why Diddy hasn't been Epstein in like the way that he was, because Epstein's victims, or Epstein's what is it, the
clients,
the clients, right? The people who he had dirt on, those were actually world leaders in very, very powerful positions who could not afford to be exposed in the matter that Diddy and his cohorts can be exposed to as well. So
there's two different prongs to this, probably a third one that we're not aware of yet. So you're not going to get like a bunch of Hollywood people out on an island, some stuffy island, to go water skiing. They got their own islands. They don't care. So what are you going to do? You're going to offer them a lavish party with a guy that's well-known, beloved, and has this kind of mystique about him, this vote or die mystique about him. Yeah. And that's how they got Hollywood. They needed Hollywood because then they could say, hey, you're going to go do a USO tour right now. And that sounds real nice, right? Well, that USO tour is actually a favor to somebody else, some other world leader. And that whole thing is a cycle. It's a whole cycle through. That you become an instrument of the deep state through this mechanism. And that was like you were talking about earlier with the Playboy Mansion. They had secret passages. Yep. You hear about everybody went to the Playboy Mansion. They say, oh, they went over to a clock and opened it up just like Batman, went off into another room, whole staircases down into the grotto, all that stuff. And who knows what else went on in that place. It's just the public areas that we were ever told about. And so that's
and another thing too. And we can talk about this while we're on this whole thing. There was a blind item not too long ago that pretty much stated that, Ana de Armas was offered to go on a date with a world leader who had a crush on her. Now, they didn't emphasize who the world leader was, but they also didn't say that she said no. And this is something else that I want to throw at you guys here too, because I'm pretty sure you guys have all heard stories about what happens in Dubai with certain women, right? About how they fly out to Dubai because some rich Saudi prince wants to pay them lavish amount of money for one night, and then the next thing you know, you hear stories about, oh yeah, they're getting crapped on their head, because that's what they do there behind closed doors when they have all the money and all the control, right? I'm pretty sure you guys have also heard these stories about how singers like Beyonce and Rihanna, they go to some foreign country, some niche country, and they're getting paid $12 million to perform one concert, quote unquote, on behalf of like some rich dictator or some rich leader who's a big Beyonce fan and just wants to hear them sing. It's like, that's not what's going on over there, folks. So do you honestly think that Rihanna's getting paid $12 million to sing Umbrella a couple of times for a rich billionaire for an hour? It's like, I've said this many times before. These celebrities are basically high-paid prostitutes, and they will go to the highest bidder in more ways than one. And then we sit here and we wonder why Justin Bieber all screwed up? Why is Amanda Bynes all loopy? Why Britney Spears
Tom Holland have 1,000-yard stare?
why is Britney Spears in her underwear at 45 years old dancing with knives? Like, we all think, what happened? It's like, what do you think happened?
I prefer the old Hollywood degeneracy of the 1920s. When everybody was a pervert, but hey, it was just accept it. And
Babylon.
Everyone was a pervert and they just dropped dead at 30.
That's right. As long as you kept it out of the paper or the trades, hey, who cares? You can,
as long as you're your own swimming pool that you drowned in, you were fine.
You can be Charlie Chaplin and date a 13-year-old. I mean, it's do what you care. No, but in all seriousness, it seems quaint. It literally seems like, hey, wasn't that nice? How disgusting!
Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle had nothing on all of these people.
Come on,
Fatty Arbuckle was innocent, by the way. Historically, Fatty Arbuckle was innocent. But anyway, the whole point is like, what the world seems like now with celebrity and fame and all this shit is just so disgusting that I'm like, I just actively don't think about it when I watch movies, because it's like, if I did, I would be like, yeah, I need a shower, because like there's too much evidence, there's too many threads, there's too many things to pull out where you're like, okay, there's no other reason, there's no other explanation other than, these people get up to some really
true
nefarious shit behind closed doors, and that's always been true for the rich and the wealthy. So it's not, I guess that's not changed. It's just what the uber wealthy, what the uber elite can do now with their finances, with their resources, is just like, an average person doesn't even stand a chance. So it's like these people that go out to Hollywood, whether it's in rap or, God forbid, the movies now, where they think that they're going to make it, or, I mean, this deck is stacked so much against them, even if they have talent. Even if they have but requisite talent, and they're still going to be fucked with, they're still going to be manipulated into serving people that they don't have anything in common with, that don't have their best interests at heart. And so,
but to that point here, that's exactly. Let's while we're in this topic, we might as well unravel the onion even further. There was a time period, if you guys remember, on Nickelodeon. I know Top Dog is listening to this, and some of you guys may have listened to like Nickelodeon shows in like the 2000s and the 2010s, and a lot of the Disney Channel too, for that matter. A lot of those shows were essentially highlighting and glamorizing the quote-unquote Hollywood lifestyle, right? There was a show called Victorious that they came out in like 2009. It was one of Dan Schneider's shows, and the whole aspect of the show is like, oh, these teenagers are going to a Hollywood art school because they want to be popular singer one day or a popular actor. It's like they want to make it into town. And subtly what they were doing was that they were making Hollywood seem like this amazing place that everyone wants to go to, because, hey, don't you want to be the next Lady Gaga? Don't you want to be the next Britney Spears? Don't you want to be the next, Pedro Pascal, or whatever the case may be? Don't you want to be that guy? And it makes people, because like I said, what is Hollywood highlighting there? What are they promoting? It even goes back to the days of Entourage. You watch Entourage, is a show about a group of guys who go to LA to make it in the business, and you think, okay, when we really make it, we're gonna be super famous, we're gonna get a mansion, we're gonna have sex with a whole bunch of celebrities and stars and whatnot, and that's what they were selling you, right? So that's what makes it attractive on the baseline, because it's like, it's all the money, it's all the drugs, it's all the women you can ask for. It's like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Then you find out the real cost of what all that acquires, and you think to yourself, oh, now I get it, now I'm too far deep to get out of this whole situation. Then you end up like Justin Bieber, where you're not even human anymore, like you're just a shell of yourself.
That is very different from when you had a TV show like Fame, which did not show you very glamorous. I mean, it showed you how difficult it was and how much you had to work at it. With all of these other shows that you talk about, Hannah Montana popped into my mind when you were talking about that. Also, you know, the fame, the glamour. For me, I mean, I was watching Salute Your Shorts and Hey Dude, so I didn't see the glamorous side of life there.
Rick wanted to be a cowboy.
Yes, but it was just, it's curious that's been going on forever. I mean, even in the silent film era, you had the portrayal of how glamorous and beautiful Hollywood was. Yeah, but just go watch Sunset Boulevard to get just a touch of how degenerate and how awful that industry can be.
I will say this before we move on to our next topic here. You know, the Bible has a verse for everything, and I always think of Ephesians 5:11 and 12. There's a reason why it's called the 5:11 show over at Bounding. But what does the verse say here? Have no fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness, rather expose them, for it is shameful to even speak of the things which are done by them in secret. Who do you think that's talking about? Because that could be talking about quite a few people. That could be talking about quite a few people. Right? Exactly.
Who knows what Florence did after dark?
Speaking of someone who's probably definitely on those Diddy tapes, Kanye West did a song over the break. He literally did a song called "Hail Hitler," and it's been kind of memory hold on the big platforms. And I don't know why. I'll always say this. Look, I get it. At the skim through this very, very quickly. Kanye West is lashing out and trolling the Jews because he feels like the Jews are responsible for the fact that he can't sleep with Kim Kardashian anymore. Like there's a whole lot of things going wrong with Kanye. I don't think that that's a breaking news revelation to anyone here. He's kind of nutso. But here's the thing. They went and pulled the video down on YouTube, and they were saying like, "Oh, it violates our terms." Okay, stop. This is where we need to stop, because if we're being completely honest with ourselves right now, let's be real here. A song called "Hail Hitler" is no worse as far as lyrical content than the things that we're actually giving Grammys to. There are songs that have hundreds of millions of views on YouTube right now that promote quite literally murder, rape, sexual immorality, whoredom, witchcraft, satanic worship, violent, horrible gore things, all like things that actually would probably influence people to do something really, really bad in real life, right? Things that objectively we've given hundreds of millions of dollars to and Grammys to. This idea that this song with a chorus called "Hail Hitler" is somehow more dangerous than your typical song from, I don't know, throw a name out there, 50 Cent, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, like all these other artists that are adored around the world. Is his song really much worse than the songs that we have popularized and glamorized over the course of 40 years up to this point? Is it more profane than "Wet Ass Pussy" or something like that? Is it more profane than the things that you just hear on a daily basis? Like, be honest with ourselves here. So while I think Kanye is a complete degenerate moron, this whole idea that, oh, we need to ban this video because no, just stop. And by doing that, you're only making his point for you that, hey, look, when it comes to a song about Hitler, this is where you guys draw the line. Be like, hey, we don't want to influence anyone to do something violent and crazy. What does that say about all the other music that you guys release to other demographics of people? So are you admitting that songs actually do have the ability to influence people to do bad things? What does that say about the entire modern music industry right now? Like, this is kind of what I'm getting at here. Cider, I'll start with you. What is your take on Kanye West's "Hail Hitler" video and his war against the Jews?
I'm one of the few people that don't really. I don't get the catchiness. I mean, I get that the chorus is intended to flow well, but I'm one of those people that can't quite sing along. There's like two reasons there. Can't quite sing along.
Yeah.
And I've seen parodies of it, of course. Kraka Hail Hitler, I think, is the parody that's going around.
That's the approved version.
It's like he's still whining about other men banging Kim Kardashian. Like it's so obvious he just wants to have sex with Kim Kardashian again, and his mind is just mush right now because he can't get up in that big fake ass anymore.
Well, no, see, this is what happened. Is So men will make a mistake every now and then with falling in love with a hoe. I'm one of them. Okay.
Hoe 101 here.
Yeah, and that he did, and he fell in love with a hoe, and hoes aren't honest, hoes ain't loyal.
Nope.
That's how it goes. And he wants that back. So he's gone through breakups. He's miserable. He's being picked on. Blah blah blah. Kanye's precious little ego. And so he's flashing back to a happier time. That's all. And that's why Kim comes back to him, because he goes back to those first days when Southwest was first, or Northwest, whoever this kid is, was first born. And he's like all that pride and all the security and strength he was feeling back then. And that's why he keeps going back to that moment. It is not the Kim Kardashian of the moment today that he is thinking of. I assure you that is not who is coming to mind.
But by the way, JAC brings up a great point. This Hail Hitler song, I think, came out right after the Cousin song, where Kanye West basically admitted that he gave oral sex to his male cousin until he was 14 years old. And I feel like that kind of completely glossed over.
I'm remembering that headline now. Yes.
Wow.
So you have to ask yourself,
like I said, all the rappers are gay. Just accept all the rappers are gay. It's just been one giant psyop for the last 40 years.
But only one of them has come out openly, and that was Eminem in the movie.
Yeah, and people thought, oh yeah, he was totally joking in that movie. It's like, yeah, okay.
I've never seen him speak more honestly. I swear to you, as I'm sitting here, I've never seen that guy speak more honestly ever.
I'm taking it as a joke in a bad movie.
So I've never listened to Kanye West personally. I don't have a whole lot to contribute here. His thing with the Jews seems just so aggressively mentally ill. It's just like, okay, I just don't have any you're ready to kind of burn it down. I get it, Kanye. But so yeah, I don't have much to contribute here, but this is just as okay, as someone who engages in edgy boy behavior on Twitter, you're trying way too hard. I mean, really, you're like hitting the nail on the head way too hard. You don't have to try that hard. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
I did a show back in Comicsgate called the Trash Compactor Show, and the guy who was like the ringmaster of it would send the link out to Twitter. He would just put the link out to Twitter. He would go into other people's chats and put our StreamYard link in their chat as if it was going to be a link to go into this conversation you're watching. So we ended up attracting these kids that were just out to get like punished by their parents or something. They had pink ski masks, and they would come on the channel and they would scream racial obscenities. And there was one kid that came through, and he had his mask on, and he sat there and he had an acoustic guitar, and he repeated hard R as he was strumming the guitar. He was pretty good at the guitar, but the guy who ran the show, he let him run it all the way out to the end of the song. So the kid got bored of just repeating the N-word over with, and he says, "Nah, what are you gonna do now? Didn't think you'd get this far. What are you gonna do now?" And that's what the problem is with Kanye, is that he's got to be just let him go. Just let him go crazy. Are you that worried? Well, hold on. We just had a conversation about this. So if we're turning the Waffle House into a Tekken fighting stage, maybe they do have a point about Kanye's music inspiring people into crazy ideas. Maybe they have a point, because like a lot of people look up to Kanye as like some spiritual leader. And then all of a sudden, he's telling like everybody like, hey, put on a skinned wolf head and go around and say these things in public.
And real quick. No, hold on. What it says that just that I don't think that Kanye is trolling. When I say that he's trolling, I mean he's intentionally trolling the Jews. I don't mean that he's doing this as like some kind of a bit or a gag.
I was
mean
only
that
pretending, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like in Kanye's mind, he is angry at the Jews because he believes that the Jews have separated him from his one true love, Kim Kardashian. So he's lashing out at them by doing stuff like this because he blames them for his failed marriage, essentially. That's what I believe is happening. I don't think he's doing that just as like, oh, I'm just kidding, guys. Ha ha, joke. Like, that's not what I was trying to refer there when I say he's trolling.
It's a very cheap joke to bring in Hitler. I would say, first off, if this were true, if this were real, and somehow the Jews managed to separate him from Kim Kardashian, I think he should be thankful. But that's just me. I will say that I'm puzzled as to why Kanye West thinks that this song, which I've not heard this song, I've not heard any of the parodies. I don't know why he thinks that Hitler would be fond of him. Has he not read up about what Hitler thought about people who were not Aryan? I would just wonder.
There's a lot of
would be welcome in the triumph of the will.
There's a lot of fan fiction regarding Hitler over the last several weeks here because there's people out there that think that Hitler was actually a noble Christian who was just trying to free his people from the evil Jews, and it's like all you guys are retarded. Like all you guys are just completely
Hitler
retarded.
hated Christianity. He was working to replace Christmas with the solstice. He did not want to have crosses.
Not only that, taking a step further, he hated Christianity because he thought that it was a deception from the Jews because the Jews are the ones who wrote the Christian books.
He was doing a lot of meth, to be fair. Like let's not.
You got to be fair to Hitler.
I'm making a joke. Yeah, that's the guy's audience. That's called a joke. Because he was a bad guy.
Sure it is, Ralph.
Jesus Christ.
It's not Hitler. It's Il Duce for Rob. You're gonna get a little Italian there. Il Duce. Mm-hmm. No, Hitler was quite demonic, deranged, and just a horrible, horrible person. I don't get this whole thing. Look, Kanye.
I will say this.
Kanye, if you're out there, go join Hamas. I'm sure they'll be happy to have you there.
He'll join one day. Look, all I have to say is this, is that, I know that a lot of people believe a lot of wild conspiracy theories about World War II, and I'm not here to promote one outside of this one. I really do truly believe that the Nazis fled to Argentina and there was a huge Nazi coalition in South America for others. I think enough time has passed that we can look and be like, yeah, I think that's probably exactly what happened. So
a few of them
did. You mean Adolf, besides Adolf Eichmann, the guy that they
Joseph Mengele.
And Mengele. Yeah, Brazil, right?
Yeah. Uruguay is where Mengele ended up.
Oh, okay.
You are gay, if you prefer. But
the boys in Brazil. Never mind. I'm just gonna.
The boys in Brazil. That was
okay. I was just curious. I thought that was that story, but anyway.
The Hunting Hitler guys on History Channel tracked them to a specific village in the highlands of Argentina, like way up in the mountains, and this was a gated place, so they weren't allowed to enter. The people who ran the community came out and spoke off camera. The camera had to be pointed out into the field. And they said, yes, we came here during World War II. They did not allow them in. They didn't show their faces. They spoke into the microphone, and then they asked them to leave. It's completely shut off society. They don't interact.
Yes.
When they put out all the information, I told my mother about it, and she's like, "Oh, we had Nazis in Peru all the time. They're all over the place."
Yeah, they loved them. They absolutely adored these guys. Not only because they were,
we
German
just love
white
colonizers.
guys, but well, yeah.
Yes, I mean,
because they showed up and they were like, well, no, see, the Germans, okay, for whoever Hitler was, the actual army men were trained to work with the people, not against them. If they weren't against the Nazi cause, then they were to be enrolled into the Nazi cause. And so they went in there and they're like, hey, are you guys cool with us giving you all this neat technology from Europe? And they were like, fuck yeah, man. And so the Nazis were beloved. They just showed up with all this awesome technology, all these creature comforts from Europe. And everyone was like, I don't care what the Europeans have to say. You guys are cool as shit.
I thought the Spanish one with horses.
A lot of Europeans fled. I mean, you not only had German Nazis fleeing into Argentina, you had German Jews, and you had them flee into Argentina, into Chile, into I presume Peru. Don't forget the legend. Don Francisco is Jewish, and his family fled Germany to Chile. So that's how the Kreuzbergs got there.
What gets lost in this is people are like, why did they go to Argentina? It's a shithole. Well, not back then.
No,
Argentina actually had like buildings built out of gold, like gold-plated buildings back then. So you went to Argentina because you couldn't get into America. It was America, Argentina, the rest of the world. It was like this crazy El Dorado.
A lot of German, Italian, Irish immigration to Argentina. It wasn't just
there's a lot of gold there. That's why, and that brought everybody around.
Well, so. Argentina comes from Argentine when it comes from silver. From the word
sorry,
silver.
My bad. Must be the other way around.
Yeah, Argentina has the silver. Peru has the gold.
Okay, so Argentina was a really, really popular place, and that's why they went there. Is because it was like lack.
And the Perons were sympathetic. I don't think that they were actual Nazis. I didn't see.
And then Pinochet happened.
Pinochet was like in the 70s.
Yeah, Pinochet it's almost like he was raised up by a group of people who didn't like communists very much.
Pinochet is a piece of Pinochet, honestly, is a piece of garbage, so it doesn't matter.
If people on this panel don't like Pedro Pascal, blame Pinochet because he's the one that threw the Allendes out.
Right, they ran away from Allendes.
Exactly.
Right. The Allendes ran away.
So it's Pinochet's fault that Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic.
Yep. Because if he were in Peru, we would have killed him for it.
You gotta love it. It's like that domino meme. Pedro
Pascal. That's
Pascal,
where he was going to run to.
That's what they have right here. Is they have this little the little tiny domino, and it's Pinochet dropping communists out of helicopters. Pedro Pascal, the big giant one, is Pedro Pascal is cast in every fucking movie for 3 years straight.
I will say this. That there is a great bit of hilarity how the Nazis went all in on the master race, and then after getting soundly defeated, just ran to South America and be like, oh, "Okay, we'll just mate with South America.
We're gonna go get some hot Latina GFs, bro."
And then you get beautiful.
They're like, maybe we was all
men like me.
Hey, no, they saw Evita and said, "Oh, that's what we want."
Absolutely,
the Chiquita banana gal, right?
And then you get beautiful
men out there, like in a tutti frutti hat.
All right. This chick from Orange Is the New Black and some new show called Poker Face. She's a moron. She's just an absolute dummy. But Hollywood loves her because she is a dummy, which means that she'll do and say whatever they want her to because she's stupid.
Is that a white wig or is that her real hair?
So, for those of you guys who don't know who this was Natasha Lyonne. Is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a woman who's been in Hollywood for a while. She had a career back in the late 90s, early 2000s. American Pie. There was another cult classic movie that she was involved in. I can't remember the name of it though, but essentially she was a massive heroin junkie during this time period and almost died on a couple of occasions here. But apparently she cleaned up her act, according to her, and has somewhat become used as a voice against, overcoming addiction, which on the one hand, it's like, okay, noble. I mean, yeah, when you almost die of, heroin and hepatitis C and, heart damage and conductive, that's how bad, your problem got. It's like, we're glad you're not dead. However, she's hasn't shown any intellectual inability to hold any kind of real conversation whatsoever. But as a result, over the last 10 years now, she's now become a quote-unquote gay icon because of her role in Orange Is the New Black, and I guess Poker Face is another show here. If you recall here, this is the woman who about 2 months ago got herself into trouble because she was complaining about how 12-year-olds can't get an abortion anymore because of Trump or something along those lines. So now she's using quite literally 2004 talking points in trying to defend trans people, saying that it's no business what somebody's privates are. It's like, you still think that this is 2004, and the issue is that, oh, it's none of your business what people do in public. No, stop. Here's what we're going to get to. I don't know if anyone actually seen Poker Face. I've seen advertisements for the show. It does not look like anything I would ever watch. Yes, it is on Peacock.
Oh, okay. I've seen it advertised, but I've not seen it.
I've seen advertisements for it. That Cynthia Erivo chick, the one that looks like a gremlin, she appears in that show at some point. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely not watching this. But she went on an attack against critics of transgenderism and conflated the argument that no one's business what people do in their private lives. Basically, it's literally the 2004 gay argument. This is what she says here. It says that when you're an icon in the queer community after your amazing performance but I'm a cheerleader. I don't know what the hell that is. What does that mean to you?
Gay themed movie.
Yeah, so she's actually been a gay icon since the late 90s. Not that it matters to you guys, but yeah, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been going on long.
Actually.
Not. Was that the cult classic movie we were talking about?
Yeah, she gets sent to like a gay conversion camp. And
oh yeah, no, I remember that movie now. Okay, that was the other one I couldn't remember. Yeah, so it says that what it does to you, particularly in the current climate with Donald Trump in power and the Supreme Court challenging trans women's very existence. This is from Glamour. So some chick at Glamour gave her this toss-up question, but here's what she said here: who played a teenage lesbian whose parents tried to convert her to heterosexuality, ends up defiantly embracing her lesbianism instead because she's the hero of the story. She says here, well, I'm grateful for it, said being a gay icon, but I'm not sure that I completely identified with the projected female dream of winning at life and finding that dude who putting up on a crock pot or something. It's never really been my trip. So regardless of oh well, I do love dudes, but I don't think that that's everyone's in this. So what's it? I do not think that everybody in this life is
straight in front of us.
Exactly right. Entitled to equal rights or a dignity of experience. I'm certainly, I certainly think that it's absolutely insane to judge someone's personal freedoms. And yeah, that's what we're doing here on the basis of what are we even talking about? It's no one's business what someone's privates are. It's weird to head up to a trip. It's weird to a head trip to get involved in that. So obviously they're talking about the whole issue of states banning quote unquote trans athletes from women's sports. So she's usually coming at it from the perspective of, hey, it's no business who's private part. It is in the context of sports. Like, it is. And here's the thing here too, especially when it comes to the trans argument. Like I said, this is a popular argument that they used on us 25 years ago. And it was like, it's none of your business what two men do in the privacy of their own bedroom, right? But now you guys aren't doing it in the privacy of your own bedroom anymore. Now you're affecting other people's lives, actively affecting other people's lives, because now you're demanding to be involved in sports with biological women because you identify as a woman. Sorry, no. Now you guys are going out of your way to be like, no, you need to refer to me as my proper pronouns because this is how I identify. Now you're demanding everyone else play along on your delusion. Now we have to go around and pretend like that Hunter Schafer person is actually a woman because he decided to spend $300,000 on plastic surgery to make himself look like a woman. And it's like, you still have balls. Sorry, but that's kind of the way that it is right now. If you don't have balls, you have a big gaping wound. You're pretending to be a vagina. I hate to say it, but that's basically like where we're at here.
You got that axe taint.
But no, like this is the whole situation, right? Because they're still trying to make it like, you guys are just not letting us live the way that we want to live. It's like, no, now the way you guys want to live is coming actively at the expense of others, and people are tired of it. I've talked about ad nauseum earlier in this show about black fatigue. People are getting sick and tired of the rainbow people too. Like, we're reaching a boiling point with a lot of issues here right now because you guys are the ones continuing to press this whole thing on everyone else. And this is why we're here right now. So she goes on to say that I think it's important to also let people have their belief systems. We'll get to that here in a second. People are attracted to who they're attracted to. It's none of your business. Mind your own business. You're the ones out on the street showcasing your attraction to the entire world. It's not like we're going out of our way to figure out who you're banging behind closed doors. You're the ones. We're like 2 weeks away from National Pride Month. again, where everyone's going to be out on the street showcasing how proud they are about who they sleep with behind closed doors. It's like, again, this is not only projection, this is outdated talking points. She's still, like I said, stuck in 2001. She still thinks that 2025 is operating the same way they did in 20. These are 2020. This is 2001 Hollywood talking points that they think still apply to our current time. Like, no, it doesn't. None of this stuff is completely outdated. Like, literally, did you write this when George Bush was president? Is this how we got here? I loathe racism and I hate inequality of all forms. I think it's insane that somebody thinks they have the right to tell a woman about her power to choose. So all the talking points, click, mark, are all there.
Well, I can say that maybe she thought it was 2004 because George W. Bush was literally the new Hitler. And now when we have Trump, he's literally the new Hitler. So, she's having a hard time keeping track of the new Hitlers. They keep coming up every election.
And then here's another quote.
Making songs about them.
And then here's another quote for her, highlighting her intelligence. To quote Sarah Silverman, if men can get abortions, they be available at ATMs everywhere. Men can get abortions. They're the ones that pay for yours. So that's stupid. We can throw that old argument out of the window.
Well, if we go by the thinking in transgenderism, men can get abortions because men can get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
A trans man can get pregnant, correct?
Sure. I don't care. I don't know. I don't care.
If we go by her, if we go by her thinking, you'd have to swipe your card every time you get an abortion and step into like what, a package or something. Like, how do you get an ATM abortion?
Well, she's just saying that they would be readily available and faster and much more convenient.
Prioritized in the
because the current world is puts men above everything.
So mostly you get your abortions in smoke shops and like
you're getting lost in the details, Eddie. You're getting lost in the details. You're getting lost in the semantics.
But yeah, I feel bad. I actually feel bad, specifically for like the gay community, because these are their token representatives. Like every group has the person that's supposedly speaking for, even though they never say this, all black people, all gay people, all, they're the individual like representatives of GLAAD or the NAACP. It's just the approved sort of like narrative that goes along with these, from these organizations that gets projected out to an entire community. So it's like you have somebody who, let me get this right, is a former heroin addict, and someone who doesn't have her life together and is kind of a mess. That's kind of, even her fans say this about her. That's why they like her. You know what I mean? She's kind of a train wreck. She plays characters like that. She's kind of a mess. She's kind of this walking disaster. So I'm not sure why she's the person that people are listening to when it comes to defending. And again, it's this misapplication of what's going on. It's there aren't certain legal protections, but for what? For men playing in women's sports, for you know what I mean, for prisoners not getting sex changes. I mean, what is lost by any of the regulations or laws that have passed since Trump's been in office? I don't know. And talking about 2004, Democrats were fucking pro-life in 2004. Now, maybe not really, but they, like, in terms of how they voted, like
they were pro-life in 2004 because, believe it or not, even in like the late 90s and early 2000s, society had degraded to a point where people were openly willing to accept the rainbow agenda. Even in California, in like 2000, it was either 2008 or 2012, they had a vote for gay marriage that got rejected in California. And that wasn't that long ago, so it just goes to show you.
And then they blame the black community for it.
They blame the black community and they blame the Mormons.
But that just goes to show you how much we've devolved as a society and how, let's be honest here, this community is a big driving factor in our de-evolution and how we got here right now. Because the one point I will push back on is that it's not unfortunate that this woman is a representative. Like I said, they're the ones propping her up as a gay icon. So clearly there's enough people in this community that love this woman and want her to speak on behalf of the rest of the community based on roles that she's played in Hollywood. So she thinks she's being an ally to these people. So that goes to show you that there's a disconnect in the community itself if she's the person that they're propping up.
Yeah, I'm obviously out of the loop here.
Yeah,
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just think that the overall issue is that you have these people that get promoted as being parts of these communities, and it's like it's almost as if, I don't know, it's almost as if young people have not developed any kind of depth to the point where they see a projection of their identity on screen. And again, you know, this has to do more with film criticism and stuff, but it's like they think it's good because they see themselves in the character. And it's like, that's not get the example you've given. That's not a good thing. Like, why would you want to be an irresponsible, drug addicted, you know, sort of like clout chasing individual? You know, why is that something that's relatable? So that's my complete disconnect from this, is why you would ever find this person.
And you know what? This is something me and Spencer argue about all the time, because I've pointed this out many, many times before, and he's noticed it whether he wants to admit it or not. But you guys remember the movie? Was it Monster, or what was the movie with Macaulay Culkin and Seth Green? Remember, there was a movie that came out in like the early to mid 2000s. Party Monster. There we go. Yep. So, and once again, it was a movie that became a cult classic because it was about two gay men in the overly abundant New York gay party scene. I think it was either the 90s or the 80s, one of those two. But like I said, if you look into the story of the guy, not a good guy by any stretch of the imagination, but the reason why that movie has such a cult following within that community is because it reminds them of themselves. And just as you brought it up here, it's like, why do you guys constantly identify with people who are objectively the worst people in society? Why are you guys always identifying with, you know, drug abusers and drug addicted people, people who are done with, you know, gross sexual abuse and all these horrific things, and it's always identifiable to people in the gay community or the LGBTQ by mass, right? And it's like, why do you guys always find identity in the worst people in these type of situations? Well, it's one or two things. Either there's a window of the people that represent that community, or the experiences of these people match the experience of the people who are in this community. Either way, it's not good. And I think there's the big disconnect here, because I think the answer that you're looking for is right in your face, but no one really wants to accept that, because then we have to start acting like, hey guys, maybe this community here is not the heroes of this story. Maybe they're not the victims of this whole situation. Based on I know that movie Party Animal is in fact based on, that's a real guy who I think is either still alive or just recently died, but I think he's still around.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It just seems first off, I don't know who this person is. I've never seen any of the projects that she's in, but I was reminded of when they tried to make that demon robot Megan into some sort of gay icon, and I was like, why, of all the things? Because I saw the trailer for the sequel, and when I went to see the Final Destination thing. Point being, I don't know if there are that many gay people who really want this particular person to be an icon, and I don't even know why she is a particular icon in this community. I don't understand,
because apparently she's played a few popular lesbians in movies and television shows, and that's why she's quote unquote a gay icon now. That's why.
Well, I mean, they don't have very many to really go with. I mean, I can't remember the best gay icon. Like, to me,
Liza.
Still the most... Oh, well,
Liza.
I mean,
according to you, I guess.
No.
Well, like, the only positive one I can think of off the top of my head is still Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. Like,
character, okay.
And like, just as like an idea, like, because I remember like gay people like really identifying with that and everything, but like I can't think of a gay person that can be identifiable in that, other than people who are just completely drug and sex filled. And that's really annoying, because in the I'm not very far from the Castro. it's not nearly as like decadent as it used to be, but like it isn't like that
S&M
usually.
shop on the street where they put out the wares there.
There's no S&M shop in every other corner here. Like
well,
it's not like a big deal.
When I went to the Castro, I wasn't shocked by the S&M shop. I wasn't shocked by the adult bookstore. I was shocked by the Walgreens. There's a Walgreens in the middle of all this. That's what threw me off.
Right. There's 5 gyms down. Every other street is a gym or some sort of vape shop. It's like,
wait a minute.
That's all it is now.
What wasn't Will and Grace like kind of a gay?
Okay, so Will and Grace maybe.
Okay, other than that, that's not what is being talked. Okay, there is a part of gay culture that's very much hedonism. It's just drugs and sex and filling these. You keep chasing that next high. You keep chasing that, and that's why AIDS happened, by the way. That's why all that culture of death shit happened in the 80s and into the 90s, because guess what? A large a segment of the gay population, for whatever reason, it seems to have a death wish with chasing, these highs in life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I mean,
it's almost as if the wages of sin are death.
Yeah, but
well, the younger gay people now don't really understand the dangers that they're still out there, because they think AIDS is cured. It's not cured. AIDS is manageable, but you can still get infected, because they didn't have that fear that was in the early 80s.
Right.
I mean, didn't we just have monkeypox like 3 years ago? Like, how do you guys not know by now?
During COVID,
but that's like
remember that?
Yeah. Well, that's just something that just comes about. Like it was a big deal here, but it wasn't like, people were still doing whatever they were doing. It wasn't like something that was going to stop them. Like it's just strange to me that like we want gays to at least be palatable in society, where they're not looked at as hedonistic fucking,
it's fascinating. It's fascinating that most of the gay people that I know, at least online, are conservative, surprisingly traditional, and they're actually rather they're not part of this. Well, I meant online. I said online. All the gay people online that I know.
It's like girls; they're not real gay people.
Pretty much to the right. So I'm pretty surprised at this heat. I don't know. Even the gay people that I know personally are not hedonistic. Although I do. One of my friends who is gay did marry on January 17th because they both knew that at 12:01 p.m. same-sex marriages was going to be outlawed by Trump. Trump was going to, he was going to get inaugurated and then arrest all gay people.
Oh, they're going to get grandfathered in.
Yes, that's what they thought. This is the paranoia.
There's two things here, and I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not going to be nice today, but it's like, look, I think it was, and look, I know Vody Bachman's a Calvinist, and I have lots of criticisms toward, so I'm not saying that he's completely right on everything, but he made it a brilliant point here when it comes to the gay community. It's the one thing where it's like, okay, it's the one sin that everyone tries to normalize, and you would sound ridiculous trying to normalize anything else in that line here. It's like, I know people who are gay. I got friends who are gay. They're normal people. They're not bad. Imagine saying, hey, look, I got friends who are murderers, and they kill a couple, but I mean, they're good. I got friends who steal, and I got friends who rob people. I got friends who cheat on their wives and beat women. It's like, it sounds absolutely ridiculous in any other context here, but it's like we always try to give that caveat here with like the gay community. It does just get ridiculous to a certain point. And I will say this too, we mentioned that movie, I think it's called Party Animal with Macaulay Culkin and Party Monster, thank you, with Macaulay Culkin and Seth Rogen. So the guy who Macaulay Culkin played, his name was, I guess, Michael Algig, did I say pronounce his name there?
Alec.
like I said, the story is that he was a raging party animal in the 1980s, so quite literally at the time period where AIDS was in fact rampant in the New York scene. And he ended up becoming like a big drug dealer within like the party circuit. And then he ended up killing a guy called Angel Mendez in New York. Went around basically told everyone that they did it. Wasn't trying to keep it a secret or anything like that, but I guess no one thought that he was being serious when he was admitting to killing a guy who died not too recently. Ended up going to jail. I think he spent about like 14 years in prison when it was all said and done. Gave this big interview when he finally got out, saying that, oh, I'm sober now and I've changed my life and all that stuff. And then literally went like right back to the party scene like a few years later. Like I think almost immediately after he got out, went right back to the New York scene. And then ultimately in 2020, I think it was December 2020, died of a heroin overdose. So I'm just saying.
People are not all making heroes or heroines out of gay and lesbian people. I mean, there aren't that many people who think Eileen Wuornos is a model to follow. So we're not going to lump everyone in the same group.
Okay.
Yeah, remember when dogs started getting monkey? Remember when dogs started getting monkeypox, and then all of a sudden no one wanted to talk about monkeypox anymore?
I never.
Oh yeah, look it up.
I'm afraid to now. Dogs and monkeys.
I mean, look at the movies that have come out the last 5 years. Look at fucking Joyride. Look at Bros. Look at these disgusting, degenerate. Hey, the gay community is nothing but fucking whores, and all we care about is sex.
Dick's the movie.
They're like
that. By the way, are created by them. And like if Dick's the movie and Bros were created by us, we would be labeled homophobic. Because we will be basically lambasting them as gross degenerates. No, they make the stuff themselves. Like I say, they're the ones who identify with these movies. So it's like, who's the real problem here?
Oh, I think that they're trying to portray.
That's what I was
people
trying to
who
say.
made them, I think, want to paint that kind of image, but I don't think that the gay community at large embraced Bros. They didn't go to see it.
Nobody would do that movie.
No, Jacob forced.
It was straight. It was straight people's fault. Remember, it was straight people's fault.
Right.
They didn't go see the movie.
I told you. No, that's what I'm talking about. It's just like that's their representation, is to be complete utter whores, and most of them aren't whores. Most of them just want to be regular. It'd be a regular family dynamic and be regular people. And it's weird to say regular, but it's just. That's what they want to become. And if we had that, the only way we get that now is in children's cartoons. And no gay person no gay adult, other than, maybe a handful of them, are watching children's cartoons to get their messaging across to, themselves. So it's weird that as adults, we look at gay people as, essentially these hedonistic horror people as adults. And we don't even think of them as like, actual average normal people. Otherwise, we would get a decent form of representation.
I think it's because the quote unquote gay creators can't really imagine that there'd be a plumber who's gay, who doesn't make doesn't go out and
why can't Marty? Why can't we just?
I got one for you guys here.
Marty.
Or maybe all these cultural gay people who run the hubs of Los Angeles and New York and these other major cities are just highlighting just how degenerate their lifestyle truly is. And then they put it on films, and it applies to other degenerate people who don't understand, and they're basically telling the entire world just how degenerate they actually are. Maybe that's the issue.
The creators, if this is a reflection of their lives, but it's not the lives of the gay people that I know, both online and in real life.
Well, there's more than like 5 gay people in the world, right? Like that there's like more than them apparently.
Well, I only know future President Pete Buttigieg.
Sure, whatever. Last topic here. Pedro Pascal is another degenerate who's probably on a Diddy tape somewhere, because it really doesn't make any other sense of why this guy has a career at this point. Let's just go to his stupid comment here.
There we go. Now, to that point, like you're going to read, there we go to my point. What kind of a role model do we have here?
Pedro Pascal, who's in absolutely everything right now. He's the new Hollywood it man, even more than what's the guy's name, Glenn Powell. He's even more of an it boy man than the Glenn Powell because he's in absolutely everything. He's in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, which he's very dangerously getting close to becoming the male Rachel Zegler at this point. But Pedro Pascal says, "F the people that tried to make you scared when asked about the U.S. political chaos. Fight back and don't let them win." So this sad excuse for a man who I've never seen anyone just portray crippling sexual addiction, crippling drug addiction. Like everyone's like, oh no, he just has anxiety, he's just uncomfortable. Like, no, that man has been booty gooned more times than you could possibly count at this point. Let's stop beating around the bush of why he's popular to begin with. Like I said, he's booty somewhere goon? On. Yeah, go look it up. He's someone who is probably on a few tapes that the FBI has in their possession. Let's be honest here. Pedro Pascal has a strong message about the current political chaos. There is no chaos in the United States right now. There's only chaos in Los Angeles. In your little circle, because all of your friends are just like having public hyperbolic meltdowns every single day about Donald. You're the only one that's in chaos right now. So stop pretending like this is something that's affecting the entire country. It's not. It's just you. He was at a conference for Ari Aster's Eddington, telling judges, look, the people who try to make you scared. When the cast, including Joaquin Phoenix and Emma Stone, two other gross degenerate sellouts, and Austin Butler's there too, was also asked if they were worried about re-entering the U.S. after making a film with such a strong political message. Pascal answered, fear is the way that they win. Yeah, because you guys are the victims.
Wait a minute, question. What do you mean that they're afraid to come back to the United States?
They think that now because Trump is president now that they're going to be thrown in Gitmo or something because they spoke out against him. And Trump is literally a Hitler. Remember, he's a dictator.
I forgot.
Yeah, everyone forgot apparently. So keep telling the stories, keep embracing yourself, keep fighting to be who you are, and fuck the people who try to make you scared, and fight back. This is a perfect way to do so in telling stories, and don't let them win, because apparently the issue here is that we just don't listen to you guys enough. We just need to keep hearing more of you guys, and I'm pretty sure things will eventually, fix itself or something. Eddington is a movie that comes out. Who cares? Joaquin Phoenix is in the movie. It's A24. They got a 5-minute standing ovation.
That isn't the movie. Absolutely nothing. That isn't the movie where he had a big 90-minute sex scene in it, is it?
Yeah, no. Right. So apparently this film
A24 would do something like that. So yeah.
So apparently this film is like super anti-Trump. So all these people are in it because they all hate Trump.
I'm shocked.
So. Austin Butler, I'm pretty sure you're on a Diddy tape too now. So
I need to push back a little bit on that. So this is definitely dealing with contentious American issues in what the country's turned into post COVID. It is, and while I'm sure there will be aspects of Trump supporters at lampoons, it's also going to lampoon. This is why it wasn't beloved. It wasn't beloved by critics because it took punches on both sides of the culture war, or however you want to look at it. And this is why I'm actually interested in seeing the movie, because I'm like, okay, good. I want a satire that pokes fun at all aspects of how insane America is now. I'm looking forward to that. But it's also Ari Aster. So if you saw Beau is Afraid, that 3-hour acid trip with Joaquin Phoenix, which I liked a lot, but I said to everybody, I know how most people probably fucking hate this movie. You know what I mean? It's just too weird. But I am looking forward to this movie. I can't stand Pedro Pascal. He has not done one thing that I could live without. There's not one performance where I'm like, you know what? I got to give it to him. He was really good here. He really showed some depth. Nope. He was in Game of Thrones, which is why I know who he is. He's been in countless movies since then. Almost all of them are crap. The Last of Us, to me, is kind of this failed adaptation of a pretty interesting video game property, but so
it was a good game 10 years ago, and then the second one came out and sucked ass and ruined all the goodwill that it had.
And that's it. I've only played the first one. I literally played it on PS3. That's how long ago it was. But yeah, Pedro Pascal kind of is becoming this annoying figure. And I said it when he made these comments that he just sounds like an automaton. He sounds like he's just spouting the approved line. and there's no real specifics to what he's saying. It's all platitudes. It's all, fight for what you believe in. And it's like even even the child murderers, they should fight for what they believe in. You know what I mean? Like it's you could take anything he says and apply it positively.
I gotta point out something here that he says here. Like I said, they're claiming that this is an anti-MAGA movie. So this is basically what they're saying here in the article. Yeah. It says that it said in the 2020 pandemic follows a standoff between a small town sheriff and Pedro Pascal that sparks a powder keg as his neighborhood is pitted against neighbor in Edmonton, New Mexico. Blah blah blah. Then it says here early in the press conference, Pascal was also asked about Trump's immigration policies and got candid about the responsibility he feels when speaking on such a topic. He says, obviously it's very scary for an actor participating in a movie to speak on such issues like this. Stop. I know you people are delusional, but you guys are acting like, oh man, we might get killed for doing this movie. We're speaking truth. When was the last time someone actually killed an actor for quote unquote speaking truth to power? When does that happen? Especially here in the United States of America. Stop. Stop this fucking nonsense. It says that it's far too intimidating for the question for me to address, really. I'm not informed enough, but you did this movie. And it says that I want people to be safe and I want them to be protected. I want them to be very much live on the right side of history. Oh,
why is it the right side of history always where you agree? Where people agree with you?
Hey, how about this? Maybe the same people that are on the FBI tapes are on the wrong side of history. You ever think about that? You ever think about the people who are compromised and blackmailed are on the wrong side of history for once? It says here, I'm an immigrant. My parents are refugees from Chile. We fled a dictatorship.
I hate Chile. Fuck Chile. I was going to talk about that. Just fuck Chile.
Mm-hmm. I was privileged enough to grow up in the United States after asylum in Denmark. If it weren't for that, I don't know what would have happened to us. I stand by those protections. I'm too afraid to ask your question. I hardly remember what it was. It's like, yeah, you giant.
That's
giant.
That's an immigrant answer right there. I'm just too afraid. I'm too afraid to remember what the question is.
Giant pussy. It says here that I wanted to show what it's like to live in a world where no one can agree on what is real anymore. It's like being a man and a woman and right and wrong and good and evil, and about why you probably shouldn't have been on that Diddy tape getting booty gooned by executives, and that's probably why they're dancing you around like a puppet. Over the last 20 years, we've fallen into this age of hyper-individualism, and the social force that used to be central in liberal mass democracies, not democracy, agreed upon a vision of the world, and it's now gone. COVID felt like it was a moment where the link finally got cut for good, and I wanted to make a film about what America feels like. To me, I'm very worried. So basically, it's more liberals hyperventilating about Trump, and then that's what this whole thing is about.
You know, it's weird. In New Mexico, like, if you go to New Mexico, they discriminate against Mexicans terribly. Like, if you go to New Mexico and you're like, oh, you must be Mexican because you're from Mexico. They're like, you piece of garbage. They hate you for it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
They hate being compared to other Mexicans.
Because they know.
I've never had any issues in the times that I've been to New Mexico.
Because we know.
No, you have to bring it up. If you bring it up, like, oh, I thought, like, if you come in there, like you're from Wisconsin, and you just walk in, hey, there, I thought you all were from Mexico because it's New Mexico, right? It's the Huevo, Mexico. And they'll look at you like you just stepped in shit.
If they look at me with contempt, it's because they know I'm Texan.
That could be it. See, you bully everybody.
By the way, here's just a small list of films that Pedro Pascal has been in the last few years alone.
Is this
Unbearable? I'm pretty sure this is exactly how he got his position in Hollywood right now, because, like I said, you guys are old enough to know who Stevie Ray is. Stevie Ray has a great insult in WCW where he used to call people fruit booties, and that's basically that's basically Pedro Pascal in a nutshell.
Why? Why is he doing this? Like, didn't he just get killed off in The Last of Us? Now everybody's gonna have to think about this while he's doing that.
Like I said, everyone who goes to these parties and see what Pedro Pascal does to get a job in Hollywood, they all want him to be the model of what masculinity is here in the United States of America. And it's like, you can miss me with all the bullshit. And here's a list of movies that he's been a part of over the last couple years alone: The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, The Bubble, House Comes a Bird, Strange Way of Life, Freaky Tales, Drive Away Dolls, The Uninvited, The Wild Robot, Gladiator 2. He has Editing
Gladiator
coming
2.
out this year. Materialist coming out this year. He has Fantastic Four coming out this year. Then next year he has Avengers Doomsday, Mandalorian, and Guru. And he's back to be currently he's part of The Last of Us. He's also got another series of Mandalorian coming out as well after that. Then of course he was a big part of the whole Saturday Night Live thing. So he's basically everything everywhere all at once, whether you want it or not. That's Pedro Pascal.
I just remember him from Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh god!
Oh my gosh! Again,
so bad.
Okay, so like the first 4 or 5 movies you mentioned, it sounded like the Razzie Awards almost. Like the Bubble, Mr. Williamson's Wonderful Imaginary Machine, whatever the fuck. Now I'm looking at this, right?
I have no idea. I've not seen any of those movies. I've not heard of many of them.
Now he's doing this. That's gay, right? That I can accept. He's gay for that.
Yeah.
The rest of it, though, like. When you're Spanish, you do this for your parents because your parents need you to entertain the guests that show up to your house before dinner. Like you're the entertainment, so you got to learn to play the piano or dance or whatever. So that's essentially what his role was as a child. Like I'm seeing it. So I don't know what the licking of the pole was. That was kind of gay, but other than that,
I'm pretty sure it's not the first time.
This is certainly more Chilean because this is not my experience.
That's what we do.
I never had to entertain anyone. I never had to entertain
as a South
anyone.
American. Yeah, as a South American, you as a kid, you have to entertain the guests that come to the house by dancing, doing acting. This is how I learned how to act and dance.
Honestly, if you really wanted to traumatize him, and I can't believe that he really fears for his life here in the United States, where he's perfectly free to speak anything. If you want to traumatize him, just find where he's on location shooting, and then just have a giant picture of Pinochet and say, "I'm back," and just have just put a little bubble, say, "I'm back," and see how he reacts.
Make him do another movie or TV show with what's her face.
Yeah, like acts who's worse.
I can never remember her name because she's so untalented. But
what's her face?
All the right wing guys love her. I can't remember her name. Carla something.
Lana Del Rey.
Oh, what's her name? Gina Carano.
Gina Carano. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, God, she's so untalented. Anyway, but yeah, just make him do another show with her, and I'm sure that'll make him go insane.
And then asks who's worse, Pedro Pascal or Rachel Zegler. I mean, objectively, it's Rachel, but Pedro Pascal. I think when we talk about just the general fatigue that's going on in the world right now, I think he's part of it too. So
I think Rachel Zegler gets a bad rap because of the Latino thing. Everyone has a problem with.
No, she doesn't get a bad rap. She does it all on her own. She's everything that she gets, she attracts towards her because she's a black hole of negativity. And
wait, who are you calling black hole? Why is the hole gotta be black? Eh?
Right.
Everybody's asshole is black. Okay, so let's
first Hitler, now black holes.
By the way, I just love this.
Dallas Page, I'm spitting out a challenge to you low down, dirty, no good, modern day beatnik, fruit booty. Fruit booty.
Modern day. Oh snap!
I love Harlem Heat. Just for the microphone moment.
I just love how Mean Gene was like fruit booty.
Okay, now it's way too mean just because I would, but if it would, the David Schultz with the Hulk Hogan thing would be fantastic.
Well, no, I'm willing to see this Eddington movie to see where it goes, but I don't really see how Pedro. I mean, he might be obnoxious, he might be pompous, but I don't see how he's okay. All right, I was gonna say I don't think he was a degenerate, but then that licking, that light licking thing. Okay, that is a little eccentric.
Yes. Gay.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts on Pedro Pascal and his existence before we get out of here?
I think that he should. I think he shouldn't be bragging about his career, given that he was in Gladiator 2: Electric Boogaloo. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it came close to dethroning Emilia Perez, but nothing could really top that as the worst film. But it's in the third worst film. So yeah, don't worry, Pedro. You're safe. No one is going to harm you. All right, you can go outside your house.
Unfortunately, no one's gonna harm you.
No one is going to take you up in a helicopter and toss you out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Unfortunately, you're gonna be just fine.
I wish Pedro Pascal was in the remake of Scarface. Let's just say that.
Oh my gosh!
Don't give him ideas. Don't give him ideas.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. Come on, but hey, if you're going to speak about politics, you're free to do so, but accept the consequences, and that people might not like it, and might not like you as a result of it. So
you think that this is the position that he assumes when he gets a new role?
Is that him trying to be sexy?
I have no idea what this is.
What is that? Is not only a brilliant actor and triple Emmy nominee, he's also a broadly educated man who's graduated valedictorian in the University of Pennsylvania.
I thought he won. Didn't he win? Didn't he win an Emmy? Didn't he win the Emmy or a Golden Globe? Wasn't he drunk at the Golden Globes?
Yeah, that's enough.
You're asking questions that nobody here is going to be able to answer, Rick, because the Emmys.
Well, somebody could answer though, because I thought that he had made a spectacle of himself.
Nobody watches the Emmys. Okay, I care about the Oscars because I have some weird, sick, freak fascination.
Gambling. Call it what it is, gambling.
But Emmys, like, who gives a shit? Same thing with the Grammys. It's like, oh my god, who gives a shit?
No, I mean, but no, there was an award show where I think he won, and people were wondering if he was drunk or it was a very bizarre. I think it was Pedro Pascal. I lose track of all the people who appear in public drunk.
Yeah,
it's Hollywood. If you're not drunk, you can't even get a driver's license.
It's Hollywood, baby.
I will say every time I read someone's first Oscar, they're completely drunk, like Al Pacino was, like during the 1973 Oscars, where he was like up for the Godfather. So
was he drunk or was he coked up?
No, he says he was drunk. That doesn't mean he wasn't coked up, but that's from his biography. So who knows?
He just remembers being drunk.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure Richard Burton was drunk at every Oscars that he went to and had to lose.
Anyway, we're getting out of here now, so I'll go ahead and flip this one over to you guys. Let's start off with our buddy Rob. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, I'm so prepared for this. You guys can always follow me over my Twitter. I'm something. Oh yeah, I my medical coding classes are finally finishing up after a year. God, that sounds like not a long amount of time and how it has felt. So I'm going to have more time. I want to try to get back to, podcasting and doing more reviews. I'm actually back on a regular exercise schedule, so hopefully I won't be as miserable as often. But yeah, I've some stuff down the pike planned. Got Mission Impossible coming up, F1. That's about it for the rest of 2025. So check me over on my Twitter and take it easy. Till next time.
All right. Eddie.
I'm finding out that opening up a business in my city is the absolute worst thing in the world. So
you're in California, bro. Like, what did you expect?
Well, I expected at least a little bit of cooperation, but the guy that's local. No, I mean the guy. Okay, the state doesn't bug me nearly as much. It sucks, but sure, I got to work with it unless I move, which I don't want to move 2,000 miles just to save $50,000 a year. But for what it is, like I got a local guy who absolutely stinks. He doesn't want to cooperate with me, and so I got to open my business in the middle of the city. I did a research thing. Literally, it gives me the best stats. You'd love this place. It's fantastic. If I put in, what about homelessness and drug deals? Does that be a problem? It shoots down to like 20th on the list of places I have to be. It's like horrible. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? So I don't know. If you want to hear me gripe about it, you can catch me at EddieBrock_YT on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I don't know. They keep taking money from me and I don't even use them that much.
All right. Rick.
Well, I've just got more reviews and I'm still working through my Best Actress retrospective. And I want to say that the Final Destination movie that I saw was surprisingly enough, it was the first Final Destination movie that I saw, and my cousin George and I were laughing. We thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I don't know. I mean, they're all the same. These are great comedies. I loved it. It was a delightful romp. So I would tell you to go and watch it. So that's pretty much it. More reviews, and I'm working still through the Best Actress retrospective. It's a long thing. So Katharine Hepburn's going to be pretty high and surprisingly low on my ranking. So that's about it. Thank you, everyone.
All right, letting you guys know what I got coming up. So yeah, I am back to doing streaming consistently now for the next couple of weeks. So it's going to take me a little bit to ease back into it, but should be back on with 01 tomorrow night for Bounding in the Comics. There will be a Bible Lens this Sunday, 7 p.m. So we're back to our normal time there. I think we're going to talk about this whole thing with dispensationalism and the new covenant and the covenant theology about people saying that, well, if we're not part of the new covenant, we're not saved. It's like, no, you guys just don't know what the new covenant actually is. And we'll talk about that in detail on Sunday's show. Should be a good one to get back into. And then, like I said, next Tuesday, we'll be back here on the Bar Room. So once again, thank you everyone for all your thoughts and your prayers, and for everyone who donated to our cause today. Thank you very much as well. Like I said, we still got a lot of work here to do. So we'll be back here for the next few weeks. Till then, thank all these guys for joining us here. Thanks, who have to leave out just a little bit early too, but all you guys, thank you very much for giving me your Tuesday night. But now it's time to get on out of here. So adios, goodbye, and good night. We're gonna go ahead, outro time. Bye.
Okay. Oh. Making your way through the daily grind takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to tune away? All those nights when you're feeling low, the rent is overdue, and your coffee maker's broken, your luck just seems to skew, and your boss is always on your case. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed and you feel the dread. The morning's looking bleak. And your internet is down again. You haven't slept all week, and your car just broke down on the way. Be glad there's a place online where you can feel at ease. In the Barroom Podcast, friends, we share our thoughts and tease. Every story shared, every laugh so free. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. So here's to the moments we all hold dear. In this ballroom of the airwaves with friends so near. Every story shared, every heartfelt cheer. It's more than just a podcast, it's where we steer. I still don't feel like I know how to shoot these things.